The silver happy birthday banner droops pathetically over the dining room entrance, forgotten and askew like everything else about my 24th birthday. Inside, champagne glasses clink as my family celebrates Emma's latest triumph, a promotion to senior marketing director that apparently matters more than my existence. I'm Jade, the Thompson family's perpetual afterthought. To Emma, Mother raises her glass, her pearl necklace catching the chandelier light. We always knew you were destined for greatness, sweetheart. I stand in the corner, clutching my untouched champagne, watching the familiar scene unfold. Emma basks in the attention, her perfectly manicured hand resting on her husband Ryan's shoulder while their kids, Lucas and Mason, chase each other around the dining table. Such an achievement at 31, Father beams, his pride practically radiating. The youngest senior director in the company's history. The irony of celebrating Emma's success on my birthday isn't lost on me. But then again, nothing about this family ever is. I take a sip of champagne, letting the bitter bubbles match my mood. We should discuss the house renovation now, Emma announces, her voice carrying that entitled tone I've grown to despise. Ryan and I found the perfect contractor. Mother clasps her hands together. Oh, wonderful. Mark, we should help them with the down payment. I nearly choke on my drink. Last month, when I asked for help with my student loan payments, they claimed finances were tight. Funny how money materializes when Emma needs it. Actually, I clear my throat. I was hoping we could discuss. Not now, Jade. Mother cuts me off with a dismissive wave. Emma's showing us the renovation plans. I slip away to the kitchen, needing space to breathe. Through the door, I hear them continuing their discussion about Emma's perfect life. Perfect children, perfect everything. The sound of their voices draws me toward the study, where I overhear Father speaking in hushed tones. Lisa, we can't keep doing this. The investments for Emma's house, the private school for the boys, it's stretching us thin. Mark, she needs our support. She's building a life for our grandchildren. But what about, shh, someone might hear. I step back, my hand trembling as I set down my glass. The familiar ache in my chest transforms into something darker, heavier. Years of being overlooked, dismissed, and pushed aside crystallize into a single, clarifying moment. My phone buzzes. A text from Nina, my best friend. Happy birthday. Dinner tonight? Before I can reply, Emma's voice rings out. Jade, where are you? We need help with the cake. Of course they do. They always need something from me, but never for me. I watch through the kitchen window as a bird slams into the glass, stunning itself before flying away. Something about its desperate escape attempt resonates deep within me. Coming, I call back, but I remain rooted in place, my mind racing with possibilities. The bird recovers, shakes itself off, and takes flight again, this time with purpose, with direction. I pick up my phone and text Nina back. Yes, we need to talk. I'm done being the family doormat. The sounds of laughter and celebration continue in the dining room, but something has shifted inside me. They don't realize it yet, but this birthday marks more than just another year of my existence. It marks the day I stopped accepting my role as the forgotten Thompson. As I push through the kitchen door, plastering on my usual compliant smile, I'm already plotting. Emma's perfect life is built on cards, and I've just decided to become the wind that brings it all down. Let them eat cake. Soon enough, they'll be choking on it. Nina's apartment feels like sanctuary after the disaster of my birthday dinner. The city lights twinkle beyond her balcony as I cradle a glass of wine, recounting the evening's events. She listens, dark eyes narrowing at each fresh detail. And now this. I slide my phone across the coffee table, showing her the family group chat message that arrived 10 minutes ago. Emma's text glows on the screen. Everyone, Ryan and I have the most wonderful news. Family brunch tomorrow at 11. Don't be late, this is huge. Another performance in the Emma show, Nina mutters, refilling our glasses. You don't have to go. I do, actually, because missing it means 3 weeks of guilt-tripping texts from Mother. The next morning, I arrive at my parents' house exactly 2 minutes late. Emma's already holding court in the living room, Ryan hovering beside her with that anxious look he's been wearing lately. There you are, Emma beams, but her eyes are sharp. We were about to start without you. Mother fusses with the coffee service. Jade, fix your hair. It looks messy. I ignore her, taking a seat as far from Emma as possible. Lucas and Mason tear through the room, screaming at full volume, while Father half-heartedly tells them to settle down. So, Emma stands, commanding attention like she's at a board meeting. As you know, I've been thinking about my priorities lately. After much consideration, I've decided to leave my position at the firm. The coffee cup nearly slips from Mother's hands. But darling, your promotion is wonderful, yes, but there's something even more wonderful. Emma's hand drifts to her stomach. We're expecting again. I want to be a full-time mother to all my children. The room erupts in squeals and congratulations. I watch Ryan's face carefully. There's something tight around his eyes that doesn't match his smile. Of course, we'll need help with the transition, Emma continues. The renovation costs are higher than expected, and with the new baby... Whatever you need, sweetheart, Father says immediately, though I notice his hand tightening on his armrest. I can't help myself. Interesting timing, giving up your salary right after the promotion bonus cleared. The room goes silent. Emma's smile doesn't waver, but her eyes turn to ice. Some of us prioritize family over money, Jade. That's enough, Mother snaps. Jade, why must you always spoil things? I stand up, my coffee untouched. Right, because questioning St. Emma's latest scheme is spoiling things. Never mind that my student loan payment bounced last week because the help you promised never came. Your sister has children to think about, Father says, but he won't meet my eyes. And I'm what? The family ATM? The built-in babysitter? The invisible daughter who exists to prop up Emma's perfect life? Emma steps forward, voice dripping with concern. Oh, Jade, is this about your birthday? I'm so sorry if you felt overlooked. Maybe if you had achieved something worth celebrating. The words hit like a slap. I grab my bag, heading for the door, but Emma's next words freeze me in place. Actually, since you brought up money, Ryan and I could use your help with Lucas and Mason this summer. 3 days a week? We can't afford a nanny with the renovation costs, and you're between real jobs anyway. I turn slowly, taking in the scene. My parents nodding approvingly, Ryan studying the floor, Emma's perfectly practiced expression of sisterly affection. Between real jobs, I repeat. You mean my freelance writing doesn't count as real work? Well, Emma shrugs. It's not exactly stable, is it? This would give you something meaningful to do. I look at each of them, my father avoiding conflict as usual, my mother already planning Emma's baby shower in her head, Ryan's strange nervousness, and Emma's absolute certainty that I'll cave like I always do. No, I say quietly. What? I said no. Find someone else to exploit. As I walk out, I hear Mother calling after me, but I don't stop. In my car, my phone lights up with messages, mostly variations of "How dare you" and "Your sister needs you." But there's also a text from Ryan. We need to talk, privately. I start the engine, a plan forming in my mind. Emma's perfect life is built on secrets, and I'm betting Ryan knows exactly where the cracks are. Time to start pushing. The coffee shop Ryan chose sits in a forgotten strip mall on the edge of town. Perfect for secrets. He's already there when I arrive, hunched over his phone like it might save him. Thanks for meeting me, he says, not quite meeting my eyes. His wedding ring taps a nervous rhythm against his cup. You said it was important. He glances around before sliding a folder across the table. Emma doesn't know I'm here. If she finds out... Inside are bank statements, investment reports, and loan documents. My hands start shaking as I read. The numbers don't make sense. Hundreds of thousands missing, high-risk investments, massive withdrawals. She's been using Father's power of attorney, I say, the pieces clicking together. The renovation money? Isn't for renovations, Ryan's voice cracks. She's trying to cover my mistakes. I got in deep with some people, gambling. A bitter laugh escapes me. And naturally, Emma's solution was to steal from our parents. Your father's retirement fund is almost gone. His words hit like bullets. The house equity, too. She keeps saying she can fix it, that one big investment will turn everything around. My phone buzzes. Mother, probably with another guilt trip about the brunch disaster. I silence it. Why tell me this? Ryan runs a hand through his hair. Because she's pregnant again and I can't. The people I owe, they're not patient. She thinks throwing more money at it will help, but it's making everything worse. How convenient that she's quitting her job now. No paper trail linking her to the investments when it all falls apart. Jade, please, I know we've treated you. Save it. I gather the documents, my mind racing. Does anyone else know? No, Emma's too proud, and your parents trust her completely. I stand, tucking the folder into my bag. I'll need copies of everything. What are you going to do? The fear in his voice should make me feel something. Pity, maybe, or sympathy. Instead, I feel nothing but cold clarity. That depends on Emma. Later that night, I find her waiting outside my apartment. She's wearing her power suit, her armor for difficult conversations. We need to talk about your attitude, she says, pushing past me into the living room. Mother's upset, father's disappointed. How's the investment portfolio? I interrupt. She freezes for a fraction of a second, so brief anyone else would miss it. But I'm watching for it. I don't know what you mean. Really? Because I have some fascinating documents that suggest otherwise. Father's retirement fund? The house equity? Ring any bells? Her mask slips, revealing something ugly underneath. Ryan told you. He showed me everything, though I have to admire your efficiency. Stealing from our parents while convincing them to fund your escape plan. That's impressive, even for you. You don't understand? Oh, I understand perfectly. Ryan gambles, you steal, and everyone else pays the price. Tale as old as time. She steps closer, voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. If you breathe a word of this to anyone, I'll destroy you. Everything you're trying to build with your little writing career, gone. Who do you think they'll believe? Perfect Emma or bitter, jealous Jade? You really don't get it, do you? I pull out my phone, showing her the email I'd drafted earlier. To the Financial Crimes Division regarding suspicious activity. One click, Emma, that's all it takes. The color drains from her face. You wouldn't. Try me. I'm done being your safety net. I'm pregnant, she says, like it's a shield. Think about your nephews, your family. You should have thought about them before you stole their future. She grabs her purse, hands shaking. At the door, she turns back. This isn't over. No, I agree, feeling strangely calm. It's just beginning. After she leaves, I pour a glass of wine and open my laptop. The email to the Financial Crimes Division stares back at me, cursor blinking on the send button. Not yet. Emma's right about one thing. This isn't over. I have years of invisible wounds to repay, and I want her to feel every single one. I close the laptop and smile. Let her sweat, wondering when the axe will fall. Sometimes revenge is sweeter when served in small, excruciating portions. The anonymous email takes 3 minutes to compose and 10 seconds to send. By morning, whispers about financial irregularities at Emma's firm have already started circulating. Just a hint. A carefully worded suggestion about improper use of client funds during her tenure. Nothing direct, nothing traceable. I watched the chaos unfold from my laptop screen, tracking the internal memo leaks and worried social media posts from her former colleagues. Emma's phone calls go straight to my voicemail. Nina sets a fresh coffee in front of me. You sure about this? She did it to herself. I close the laptop. I'm just spreading the truth. My phone buzzes. Father. I let it ring 4 times before answering. Have you seen the news? His voice sounds older, strained. They're auditing Emma's department. All her accounts are frozen. That must be stressful. Jade, please. Your mother's beside herself. Emma needs... What about what I need? The words escape before I can stop them. Did anyone care when I lost my apartment deposit because the loan you promised never came? Silence stretches between us. Then, we should discuss this in person. Family dinner tonight. I'm busy. This isn't a request. The line goes dead. I stare at the phone, something cold settling in my stomach. Nina touches my arm. You don't have to go. Yes, I do. I stand, gathering my things. Time to watch the show. The family home looks different now, knowing what I know. Each carefully maintained flower bed, every piece of expensive furniture, all of it built on lies and theft. Emma's car is already in the driveway. Inside, voices carry from the dining room. "They can't prove anything," Emma's saying as I enter. She stops mid-sentence, her face hardening. "You?" Mother rushes to smooth things over. "Girls, please, let's just have a nice dinner." "Did you send that email?" Emma demands, rising from her chair. "Are you trying to destroy everything I've built?" "Everything you've stolen, you mean." Father slams his hand on the table. "Enough. Both of you sit down." I remain standing. "Why? So we can pretend everything's fine while Emma bleeds you dry?" "What are you talking about?" Mother's voice wavers. Emma laughs, but there's panic in her eyes. "She's jealous, Mother. She's always been jealous." "Show them the documents," I tell her. "Show them what you did with Father's power of attorney." The color drains from Father's face. "Emma? I had no choice." She's crying now, perfectly timed tears. "Ryan's gambling debts. I was trying to protect the family." "By stealing their retirement?" I pull out copies of the documents Ryan gave me. "By emptying their accounts for your investments?" Mother takes the papers with trembling hands. "Mark, these numbers. Our savings." "I can fix it," Emma insists. "I just need time." "Time for what?" I cut in. "To steal more? To run? Or maybe to have another baby and use that as a shield?" "You bitter little—" Emma lunges forward, but Ryan catches her arm. "Emma, don't." His voice is quiet. "It's over." She whirls on him. "You told her? You betrayed me?" The room descends into chaos. Mother sobbing, Father demanding explanations, Emma and Ryan arguing. I stand in the middle of it all, watching years of perfect family facade crumble. My phone buzzes again. A text from an unknown number. Interesting timing on that tip about Emma. Want to know what else she's been hiding? I slip out while they're still arguing, the text burning in my pocket like a live coal. The satisfaction I expected feels hollow, replaced by something darker. This isn't just about Emma anymore. Whatever she's involved in, it's bigger than family theft. Outside, the summer air feels thick with possibility. I could stop now, let the audit and family drama take its course. Or I could follow this new thread, see just how deep Emma's deceptions go. I text back one word. Everything. The reply comes instantly. Tomorrow, noon, Central Park bench by the lake. Come alone. I start my car, Emma's screams still echoing from the house. The game has changed. This isn't just revenge anymore. It's excavation, and I'm going to dig until there's nothing left to find. The park bench feels exposed, vulnerable. I check my phone, 11:58. A man in a charcoal suit approaches, his movements precise, deliberate. He sits without looking at me. "Miss Thompson, your sister's quite the entrepreneur. Who are you?" "Someone who's been watching Emma's creative accounting for months." He slides a USB drive between us. "Your parents aren't her only victims." I pocket the drive. "What do you want?" "Consider it a mutual interest in justice. Emma's been laundering money through her investment schemes. Your family's savings were just convenient cover." My hands clench. Of course, the perfect daughter's perfect life built on perfect lies. "How much?" "Millions, and not just local money." He stands. "Check the drive, but be careful who you tell. Some of her investors aren't as civilized as I am." He disappears into the crowd, leaving me with the weight of his words. At home, the drive reveals a labyrinth of shell companies, offshore accounts, and familiar names, including Ryan's gambling debts to people who don't forgive. My phone rings. "Mother, your father's in the hospital." Her voice breaks. Heart attack, the stress of everything. The drive burns in my laptop like a loaded gun. I'll be there. The hospital corridor stretches endlessly. Emma's there, of course, playing the devoted daughter. Her mascara-stained tears look rehearsed. "How dare you show up?" she hisses when she spots me. "He's my father, too." "Not after what you've done." She grabs my arm, pulling me aside. "The audit team found irregularities. They're expanding the investigation." "Good. You don't understand. There are people involved, dangerous people. If they think I'm cooperating with authorities, maybe you should have thought about that before involving our family in your criminal enterprise." Her fingers dig deeper. I did it for us. For the family. No. I wrench free. You did it for yourself. Like always. Mother emerges from father's room, eyes red. He's asking for both of you. Father looks small in the hospital bed, monitors beeping steadily. My girls, he whispers. Please, stop this fighting. Emma starts her performance immediately. Daddy, I'm so sorry. I was just trying to... Enough. His voice is weak but firm. The truth. Now. I pull out my phone, showing him the files from the drive. It wasn't just our money, Father. Emma's been laundering funds for criminals. You're lying, Mother gasps. Ask her about the offshore accounts. Ask her what really happened to your retirement fund. Emma's facade cracks. They threatened Ryan, his gambling debts, but they were going to hurt the boys. Father's heart monitor speeds up. Mark, Mother warns. So you sacrificed our family instead? I press. Used Father's power of attorney to clean dirty money? I had no choice. A nurse appears. You need to leave. His blood pressure. Emma shoves past me, fleeing down the corridor. Mother follows, calling her name. I stay, watching Father's monitors normalize. I should have seen it, he murmurs. Should have protected you both better. It's too late for that. My phone buzzes, an unknown number. Decision time, Miss Thompson. The authorities get the evidence tomorrow. Your sister's associates won't be pleased. Father reaches for my hand. Whatever you're planning, Jade. Remember, she's still your sister. I look at him, really look at him, for the first time in years. The strong, intimidating father who always took Emma's side now seems fragile, human. Another victim of Emma's manipulation. She stopped being my sister long ago. Outside the hospital, I call the number back. If I give you everything I have on Emma, what happens to my family? They'll be protected, but your sister, well, both her legitimate and illegitimate associates will want their pound of flesh. I watch Emma through the hospital window crying in Mother's arms, still the center of attention, still playing the victim. The USB drive weighs heavy in my pocket. Salvation or damnation, depending on how I use it. I'll need guarantees, I tell the voice. Written protection for my parents, Ryan, the kids. And Emma? Through the glass, our eyes meet. For a moment, I see past the perfect facade to the desperate woman beneath. She mouths something. Please. Give me 24 hours, I say, and hang up. The game has changed. This isn't about family anymore. It's about survival. And I'm not sure whose. The family gathering for Father's return from the hospital feels like a powder keg waiting for a spark. Mother's arranged everything perfectly. Food, flowers, the pretense of normalcy. Emma sits beside Father, playing the devoted daughter, while Ryan hovers nervously near the door. I clutch my phone, containing everything needed to destroy Emma's carefully constructed world. The 24 hours are almost up. A toast, Mother announces, raising her glass. To family healing. Emma's eyes meet mine across the table. She knows. She has to know. My phone vibrates. Another message from the mysterious contact. Time's up. Decision? Father sets down his fork. Girls, I've been thinking about everything that's happened. A loud knock interrupts him. Two men in dark suits enter, followed by the man from the park bench. Ryan goes pale. Mrs. Brooks, one suit says. We need to discuss some irregularities in your accounts. Emma stands, hands shaking. This isn't the time. Actually, I pull out my phone. It's exactly the time. Show them, Emma. Show everyone what you've really been doing. Jade, please. Her voice cracks. Think about the boys. Like you thought about Father when you stole his retirement? Or me when you took my college fund? The suits move closer. Mrs. Brooks, we can do this privately, or... It wasn't just me. Emma's mask finally shatters. Ryan's debts, these people were going to hurt us. I had to protect my family. By destroying ours, I project the financial records onto the dining room wall using my phone. Look, Father, every transaction, every theft, every lie. Mother gasps at the numbers. Father's face goes ashen. You don't understand, Emma sobs. They'll kill Ryan. They'll take everything. They already have. I slam my hands on the table. You took everything from all of us. And for what? To save your perfect life? The man from the park steps forward. Actually, Miss Thompson, your sister's crimes go deeper than you know. Show them the last file. My hands shake as I open it. The room goes silent as images appear. Documents showing Emma's connection to international criminal organizations, money laundering schemes far beyond Ryan's gambling debts. Emma, Mother whispers, tell me this isn't true. But Emma's already running. Ryan tries to grab her, but she pushes past him, heading for the door. The suits move to follow. Wait! I call out, something clicking into place. The pregnancy, it's not real, is it? Just another manipulation. Emma freezes. Her laugh sounds hollow. You always were too clever, little sister, but not clever enough to see the whole picture. She pulls out a gun. Everything happens at once. Mother screams. The suits draw weapons. Father clutches his chest. Nobody moves. Emma's voice is eerily calm. Jade, delete the files, all of them, now. Or what? You'll shoot me? Your own sister? Sister? She laughs again. We stopped being sisters the moment you chose revenge over family. Delete them. I look at my phone. Years of evidence, proof of every crime, every manipulation. My chance for justice, for revenge. Emma, please, Ryan begs. Think about the boys. I am thinking about them. She's crying now, mascara running. Everything I did was for them, and you, she points the gun at me, you had to ruin it all. I raise my phone. Last chance, Emma. Surrender, and maybe the gunshot is deafening. Pain explodes in my shoulder. Through the chaos, I see Emma running, hear sirens approaching. My phone clatters to the floor, screen cracking. Jade! Nina's voice seems far away. When did she arrive? Stay with me. Mother's crying, father's having another attack, and somewhere in the distance, Emma's escaping with all her secrets. The man from the park kneels beside me. The files are safe. We'll find her. But as darkness creeps in at the edges of my vision, I realize the truth. In winning my revenge, I've lost everything else. The family I wanted to punish is shattered beyond repair, and the sister I wanted to destroy has become something far worse than I imagined. The last thing I see is my cracked phone screen, still projecting Emma's crimes on the wall, a testament to victory that feels more like defeat. Some victories, I whisper as consciousness fades, cost too much. The sirens grow louder, but Emma's already gone, taking with her any chance of this ending the way I planned. In trying to destroy her perfect life, I've unleashed something far more dangerous than simple revenge. The hospital room feels too small, my bandaged shoulder a constant reminder of Emma's final betrayal. 3 days since the shooting, and still no sign of her, until my phone lights up with a message. Storage Unit 247, come alone, or Ryan's gambling friends finish what they started. Nina tries to stop me from leaving. You can't trust her. Let the police handle it. She's still my sister. The words taste bitter, and those men will kill her. The storage facility looms against the sunset, rows of identical metal doors stretching endlessly. Unit 247's padlock hangs open, waiting. Inside, Emma stands beside a stack of boxes, looking smaller than I remember. You came alone? I step inside. Unlike you, I keep my promises. Promises? She laughs, but it sounds wrong. Like promising to protect family? Look how well that turned out. You shot me. You destroyed everything I built. You mean everything you stole? I gesture to my shoulder. Was it worth it? Becoming this? Emma moves closer, something desperate in her eyes. You don't understand. Ryan's debts were just the beginning. These people, they own me now. Every transaction, every investment, it was all them. Then why run? Turn yourself in. Get protection. Protection? She pulls out her phone, showing me a video. Lucas and Mason playing in an unfamiliar room. They took my boys, Jade. Said I had 24 hours to deliver the money or... Her voice breaks. The pieces click together. This meeting isn't about reconciliation. The files you have, the evidence, it's worth millions to the right buyers, enough to save my children. And damn everyone else? I step back. What about father's heart attack? Mother's breakdown? The family you destroyed? I never meant... She stops, head tilting. You hear that? Footsteps outside. Multiple sets. They followed you, Emma whispers. Or you led them here. The door slams shut. Metal groans as something heavy blocks it. Emma's phone rings. A familiar voice fills the small space. Ladies, thank you for making this easy. Where are my children? Emma demands. Safe, for now. But we need those files, Miss Thompson. All of them. Your sister's evidence could cause... complications. I pull out my phone. You want complications? One click sends everything to every law enforcement agency in the country. Then your nephews die first. Emma lunges for my phone. We struggle, crashing into boxes. My shoulder screams in pain. Give it to them, she begs. Please, they're just babies. Stop, I shove her back. Think, if we give them everything, we're both dead. The boys too, they'll never leave witnesses. Something shifts in Emma's expression. For a moment, I see my sister again. Not the perfect facade or the desperate criminal, but the girl who once protected me from schoolyard bullies. The ventilation shaft, she whispers. It connects to Unit 245. Smoke starts seeping under the door. They're trying to flush us out. The files, the voice calls. 10 seconds or we do this the hard way. I look at my phone, then at Emma. Do you trust me? Never. She smiles sadly. But I don't have a choice. I hit send, not to the criminals or the police, but to Nina, along with our location and a prearranged signal. Help is coming, but we have to survive long enough. The smoke thickens. Emma boosts me toward the vent as pounding starts on the door. If we get out of this, I grunt, pulling myself up, you're still going to prison. I know. She coughs. But my boys... We'll have one parent who chose them over crime. I reach down. Now climb. We crawl through darkness as the storage unit fills with smoke. Behind us, the door gives way with a crash. They're in the vents, someone shouts. Emma grabs my ankle. Jade, I'm sorry for everything. Save it, we're not dead yet. Sirens wail in the distance. Nina came through. But as gunshots ring out below us, I realize this isn't over. Emma and I may survive this night, but our family will never be the same. Sometimes revenge doesn't end with a bang, but with two sisters crawling through darkness, running from the consequences of their choices. The courthouse steps feel colder than they should in summer. Emma stands before the judge in designer prison orange, her perfect posture finally broken. Mother clutches father's arm in the gallery, while Ryan sits alone, the boys mercifully absent. I touch my healed shoulder as Emma speaks. I accept full responsibility for my actions, she says, but her eyes find mine. The path to hell is paved with desperate choices. The sentence comes down heavy. 15 years. Mother sobs. Father stares straight ahead, aged decades in months. I remain seated as they lead Emma away, her final glance carrying something between hatred and understanding. Outside, Ryan approaches with papers in hand. The boys ask about you. Better than asking about their mother in prison. I take the documents, adoption papers. Emma's giving up custody to protect them from her crimes. They need family, he says quietly. They have you. They need more than a reformed gambling addict. He runs a hand through his graying hair. Emma wants you to be their guardian if anything happens to me. The irony tastes like ash. The sister who shot me now trusts me with her children's future. Nina waits by her car, watching. She's been my shadow through all this, keeping me from drowning in victory's hollow echo. I'll think about it, I tell Ryan. Father catches me before I leave. Was it worth it? Was what worth it? The revenge, destroying your sister, our family. I look at the courthouse where Emma disappeared. She destroyed herself. I just exposed the truth. And now, what's left for any of us? The question follows me home, where Emma's case files still cover my desk. Evidence of her crimes, her lies, her desperate attempt to maintain her perfect life. But beneath them lies something else. Childhood photos I couldn't bring myself to pack away. Two sisters before shadows and resentment grew between them. My phone rings. The prison. Emma, making her one aloud call. "I never apologized," she says without greeting. "For the shooting, for everything before." "Save it. We're past apologies." "Maybe. But I need you to know, it wasn't all lies. Not in the beginning. I really thought I could protect everyone." "By sacrificing me?" "By being perfect, strong enough for all of us." She pauses. "Ryan showed me the papers. Will you do it? Watch over them?" I trace the scar on my shoulder. "Why me?" "Because you're the only one strong enough to tell them the truth when they're ready. About their mother, their father, all of it." "The truth?" I laugh. "Since when do you care about truth?" "Since I realized lies cost me everything." Her voice catches. "They'll need someone who understands that." The line goes dead. I stare at the phone, then at the childhood photos. Two girls smiling, before one became the golden child and the other learned to hate. Nina brings wine later, settling beside me on the balcony. "So what now? You won. Emma's in prison. The truth's out." "Truth," I murmur. Funny thing about truth, it doesn't fix anything, just leaves wreckage to sort through. "And the boys?" I think of Lucas and Mason, innocent casualties of adult wars, of Emma's final request, not for forgiveness, but for protection of what matters most. Maybe that's the real revenge, I say finally. Not destroying Emma's perfect life, but building something better from its ruins. Something real. Nina studies me. Sounds less like revenge and more like redemption. Maybe they're the same thing in the end. Below, the city lights flicker like stars, each one a story of triumph or tragedy. Somewhere in that maze of light and shadow, two boys wait to learn who they'll become, their mother's sons or their own men. I pull out my phone and text Ryan. "I'll do it. For them, not for her." His reply comes quickly. "That's exactly why she chose you." The night air carries a hint of autumn, of change coming whether we're ready or not. I lift my wine glass, toasting the shadows of who we were and the uncertainty of who we'll become. Some victories leave scars deeper than any defeat. But maybe that's how you know they mattered.
At 18 years old, I'm on the brink of starting college in 4 months, yet I find myself caught in a distressing family drama concerning my college fund. This fund wasn't just any savings. It was a generous amount meticulously set aside by my late grandparents specifically for my education. Unfortunately, my parents have decided to divert this fund to help my older sister, Isla, 27, and her boyfriend, 29, purchase a house. Isla has always been the golden child in our family, receiving an abundance of support and attention from our parents, unlike me. Growing up, I noticed the disparity in how we were treated, but it became painfully apparent as I got older. I accepted this imbalance largely because there wasn't much I could do about it. Our family isn't large, and with relatives scattered across different states, I had few allies. 5 years ago, I lost my grandfather, and last year, my grandmother passed away as well. They had crafted a joint will, which disclosed that I was to receive a substantial amount meant for my education only after both had passed. The will was clear and fair. My parents inherited the estate, Isla received all the jewelry, and I was allotted the college fund. My grandparents lived well and believed in equitable distribution. However, since I'm not yet 20, the control over these funds was temporarily given to my parents. My grandparents undoubtedly trusted my parents to manage this trust responsibly, not knowing the underlying familial tensions. Externally, we might have appeared as the ideal family, but the reality was quite different, with a clear preference for Isla over me. This bias was something my grandparents didn't see, and I never felt it necessary to reveal the strained dynamics at home. When I recently inquired about the college fund, having started my college application process, I discovered that my parents had used the money to assist Isla in buying a house. This revelation came as a shock, and when I confronted my parents, They dismissed my threats of legal action humorously, questioning how I would finance such a move. Caught in this predicament, I felt powerless but determined to address the injustice. My story is about navigating these complex family dynamics, confronting betrayal, and striving to claim what is rightfully mine. I needed to secure my spot in college. Initially, my parents assured me we would discuss my college funding when the time came and encouraged me to relax for the time being. Despite this reassurance, I couldn't shake the feeling that they were withholding something important from me. After persistently asking them for the truth, they finally revealed that they had transferred all my college funds to my sister, Isla, to help her buy a house with her boyfriend. Isla is an engineer teacher, and her boyfriend is a pet store. Their combined incomes don't allow for much financial flexibility, yet they aim to purchase an upscale home in a desirable neighborhood, viewing it as a vital, long-term investment. Personally, I felt that if they couldn't comfortably afford a house at the moment, they should continue renting until they could finance a home on their own. It seemed unreasonable and unfair that they would use the money intended for my education. When my parents disclosed what they had done with the funds, I was infuriated. I demanded the immediate return of the money, recalling the exact sum that had been promised to me for my education, a significant amount that would cover all my college expenses. Overwhelmed with emotion, I ended up having a huge argument with my parents, during which I expressed my anger and frustration vehemently, but to no avail. My parents remained firm in their decision, justifying it by stating that Isla needed the support more immediately and that it was only fair for me to earn my way through college, just as others in the family had done. They refused to reconsider, even when I suggested other potential solutions, like selling other assets bequeathed to Isla and our grandparents to fund her house purchase. Their dismissive attitude and lack of regret for their decision left me devastated and feeling betrayed. I even considered legal action as a last resort, feeling that they had failed in their duty to safeguard my college funds. The entire situation felt dismissive and incredibly unfair, and it was clear that any further attempts to persuade them would be futile. When I turned 20, I was finally old enough to make my own decisions, but I felt utterly powerless. I was completely dependent on my parents, who, though not violent, were emotionally distant. The day they laughed off my questions about finances, asking me mockingly, with what money, was a painfully humiliating reminder of my dependency. This realization pushed me to reconsider my silence about their treatment towards me. I had never shared with anyone in the family how I felt. They weren't overtly abusive, just attached, and I feared worse treatment if I spoke up. Yet, I couldn't help but wonder if things might have been different if my grandparents had known the truth about how my parents treated me. After a particularly sharp argument that underscored their disdain, I decided I couldn't stay any longer. I had been saving money from a part-time job and, without a clear plan, I chose to leave home. I was prepared to sleep on park benches if it meant not having to endure their coldness any longer. I also resolved to break my silence and seek help from family members, despite not being close to them. This turned out to be a wise decision. I packed what I could, left home, and went straight to my best friend's house. Her parents, understanding my plight, offered me a place to stay. That night, I reached out to some of my dad's cousins for support. One of my uncles, a respected older captain, responded. He didn't promise immediate solutions but assured me he would handle the situation. In the meantime, I would need to stay away from my parents, which I was already doing. Knowing he was on my side was a tremendous relief and gave me hope that things might change for the better. After spending several hours alone with my thoughts, the evening brought a surge of calls and messages on my phone, all from my parents. Although I ignored their calls, I did read the messages they sent. It turned out that my uncle, true to his promise, had contacted a lawyer to initiate legal action against my parents for misusing funds meant for my education, as specified in my grandparents' will. The messages from my parents were filled with pleas for me to reconsider. They claimed they would take responsibility for my tuition fees if only I would speak to my uncle to dissuade him from pursuing the lawsuit. They expressed regret over their actions, explaining that they had already given the money to my sister, Isla, who was about to buy a house she loved. They argued that it would be cruel to ask for the money back from her now, promising instead to cover my college expenses themselves. All they needed was for me to convince my uncle to drop the case. My uncle had already told my parents he was serious about taking legal action, having discussed this with a lawyer who was also a family friend, and he intended to ensure they paid for their actions. My parents sounded genuinely concerned over the potential consequences. Feeling a mixture of frustration and curiosity, I decided to call them. I didn't have a clear plan on what to say. I just wanted to hear them out one last time. They answered immediately, pouring out apologies and explanations, admitting they had been under stress and regretted not taking my feelings more seriously. They confessed they had always felt distant from me but begged for one last chance to make things right. However, they maintained that asking Isla to return the money was something they couldn't do, as it would be too harsh on her. This conversation clarified their priorities clearly. Their inability to prioritize my needs over Isla's indicated to me that their patterns were unlikely to change. I ended the call resolved not to intervene with my uncle's plans. Their actions had shown me where I stood, and it was time for me to stand firm. 5 days ago, I decided that I wanted my money back, fully aware that Isla had not yet completed her house purchase, and the funds were still untouched. Since making that decision, I've avoided contact and even blocked them during a heated moment, although I later regretted some harsh words I had said. Throughout this ordeal, my uncle has been a steadfast ally. We keep our conversations brief and to the point, mainly because he's already doing so much for me, and I don't want to burden him with my doubts about suing my parents, especially after their recent offer to fund my college tuition. And I've resolved to reclaim my money. The settlement my parents proposed doesn't sit well with me, primarily because I don't trust their intentions. Their offer to cover my tuition and other expenses semester by semester pales in comparison to having complete control over the funds my grandparents left me. With this money, I could potentially cover my education without depleting the entire sum, especially if I secure a scholarship, leaving me with some savings. Accepting their offer would mean starting from scratch financially after graduation, without any fallback. Despite maintaining regular contact with my uncle and recently asking him for additional financial support to move out of my best friend's house, where I felt I was overstaying my welcome, I've chosen not to disclose my ongoing concerns to him. My best friend and her family, despite the added strain of my presence and their own busy household, have been nothing but supportive. Yet, I feel it's time for me to move on and not impose further. Some people have criticized me for feeling entitled to this money, suggesting I should either work through college or take out loans like most do. But given the circumstances of my family's promises and the assets left by my grandparents, I believe it is not only my right but also my responsibility to manage these funds wisely and ensure my educational and financial future. I am simply pursuing what rightfully belongs to me. My grandparents set aside a college fund specifically for me to ensure that I wouldn't need to explore other, less desirable financial avenues like many do. I don't believe it's entitled to assert my right to this fund. In fact, it seems more entitled of my parents to divert these funds to my sister so she could purchase a house beyond her means. This, despite them also inheriting money from my grandparents. Moreover, my grandparents on my mother's side are still alive and could have provided financial assistance if truly necessary. My maternal grandfather recently labeled me a brat and entitled in an email after learning from my mother that my uncle was aiding me in legally challenging my parents. I chose to block that email address without responding. My relationship with my maternal grandparents has never been close, and I see no value in their attempts to impart lessons or morals, which I perceive as merely echoes of my parents' sentiments aimed at undermining me. Meanwhile, my uncle advises me to concentrate on my studies and securing the scholarship I aspire to. He handles the legal matters. This arrangement spares me constant worry and allows me to focus on my academic and personal growth. My uncle, whom I trust completely, seems to understand the need for this and stands by me, a rare ally in my current situation. As I prepare to start college and leave these familial conflicts behind, I find solace in the fact that these challenges are only temporary. Recently, I moved into an apartment arranged by my uncle, where I share space with an older, understanding roommate. While my uncle covers the rent, he encourages me to pay for my own groceries to learn financial responsibility. I appreciate his belief in my ability to manage my finances, as I do have some savings and a part-time job. This setup not only helps me prepare for the future, but also gives me a sense of independence and control over my life. Despite his significant efforts on my behalf, I believe what he's asking me to handle is quite manageable. Regarding the ongoing lawsuit, he's been transparent, updating me whenever necessary. My parents have received the legal notices and are prepared to negotiate. Currently, we're engaged in mediation sessions, although this might escalate to a court battle if an agreement isn't reached. My parents appear eager to resolve this before it goes to trial, and our lawyer is optimistic that we can recover the full amount very soon. We had to opt for a virtual mediation session due to our tight schedules, which suited me fine as I preferred not to meet my parents in person. Throughout the session, my parents were visibly anxious, readily conceding their mistakes. They even revisited their initial offer to fund my college education, but I firmly rejected this. My stance was clear. I simply wanted my savings returned, and they had no right to challenge this decision. After some disagreement, they proposed another mediation session in a few days, and my lawyer anticipates a resolution then. I'm confident that neither Isla nor my parents will misuse the funds during this brief period. They understand the consequences this could bring. Speaking of Isla, I do feel a bit of sympathy for her. She has been vocal about her dream of homeownership, frequently discussing her plans to buy and decorate a house. It's unfortunate she won't realize this dream now, but she should not have accepted the funds if she couldn't afford them independently. Despite our rocky history, I don't harbor any resentment towards Isla. We've grown out of our childhood squabbles and have been quite amicable in recent years. We haven't spoken since I moved out, and I'm not sure she knew that our parents were using my college savings to support her housing dreams. She hasn't cut communication with me, so I assume she was unaware, but she'll soon learn the truth when our parents request the funds back. Navigating this period of my life hasn't been straightforward, especially dealing with family issues that could easily be attributed to my parents. It's painful to dwell on it, so I'm shifting my focus to my college journey instead. I've been fortunate to receive acceptance letters from several universities, but I'm anxiously awaiting a response from my top choice, where I hope to secure a scholarship. Even without the scholarship, I'd be content. I just need to know where I stand. Currently, I'm on the wait list, but remaining hopeful. The college's location is ideal as it's near my uncle's place, just a 4-hour drive. Lately, we've been spending more time together. His children are all grown up and busy, so it works out well for both of us. He's become a kind of father figure to me, especially since he recently offered me a place to stay during semester breaks. His rough exterior belies a genuine warmth, which was evident when he extended the invitation, which I gladly accepted. On another positive note, my parents have agreed to return the funds they had taken, which were intended for my college. My uncle, my lawyer, and I are pleased with this resolution. Additionally, my sister Isla reached out to apologize after learning what had happened. She was under the impression that our parents were helping her with a home loan, not knowing the funds were originally for my education. Our relationship is neutral for now, but I'm open to the possibility of reconnecting more deeply in the future. As for college life, it's been fantastic so far. I started last month and have been quite busy. My roommate and I have hit it off, and the classes have been engaging. My uncle and aunt were instrumental in helping me move and settle in. Their support has been a cornerstone of my success, and I am profoundly grateful. I've also secured the scholarship at my preferred college, which means the financial legacy left by my grandparents will provide a solid foundation for my future. Life is looking up, and I'm eager to make the most of this new chapter, hoping to make my family proud. I'm Hannah. Up until not long ago, I believed I had everything in life figured out. My husband Angel and I were living blissfully in a lovely apartment situated in a desirable neighborhood. We were both gainfully employed, I as a marketing manager and Angel as the head of sales at a sports nutrition firm. Our life's blueprint was straightforward: save diligently for a home and then begin our family. We lived modestly, sharing a single car, Each morning, Angel would drop me off at work on his way to his office, and I would find my own way back in the evenings. Although it wasn't always convenient, our determination kept us on track. Everything took a different turn when Angel's sister, Anna, visited us with her 2 children. As a widow who lost her husband to a tragic accident, Anna was often the focus of our in-laws' protective instincts. They always tried to ensure she didn't feel isolated, prompting them to send her to stay with us. Angel was ecstatic about their arrival, eagerly assisting with her luggage. I nodded along, trying to mirror his enthusiasm. Sure, it'll be nice to spend time together, I agreed. Initially, Angel's attentiveness to Anna and her children appeared sweet. He spent hours playing with the kids, listened to Anna's problems, and went out of his way to ensure their comfort. However, as days turned into weeks, Angel's focus on Anna became more intense, and he began insisting that I prioritize her needs as well. Hannah, can you help Anna with the kids' laundry? Or why don't you take Anna shopping? She needs some relaxation, he would suggest. Exhausted from my day job, I was now expected to cater to every one of Anna's whims. The situation reached a boiling point when Angel made it clear that accommodating Anna was our top priority. Hannah, Anna's having a hard time. We need to make her stay as comfortable as possible. Can't you be more understanding? He pleaded. I stared back in disbelief. Angel, I'm trying, but I'm exhausted. I work all day and then come home to cook and clean for everyone. I need a break too, I expressed, tired and frustrated. He frowned, dissatisfied with my response. Anna is a single mom. She needs our support. You should be more sympathetic, he retorted. Angel's continual fuss over Anna and her kids left me feeling sidelined. Days became weeks, and Anna showed no signs of leaving. After grueling days at the ad agency, I would return home only to cook and clean for everyone, constantly criticized by Angel. One evening, as Angel complained about the spiciness of the food not suiting Anna, I nearly broke down. Angel, I'm doing my best. I'm tired too, you know, I responded, holding back tears. He sharply replied, advocating for Anna's exhaustion and inability to cook due to her responsibilities with the children. I took a deep breath, attempting to maintain my composure. I understand that, but I began, only to be cut off. No buts, Hannah. We need to support her, Angel insisted. I nodded silently, avoiding another conflict. It was clear to me, Anna was enduring a difficult phase, both mentally and physically. Yet, I was growing weary of Angel's unrelenting reproaches and yearned for our lives to return to normal. One evening, as I pondered over our strained dynamics, I realized something had fundamentally shifted in our relationship, and I feared where it might lead. I was up to my elbows in soapy water, scrubbing away at the dinner dishes, when Angel suddenly changed the evening's peaceful rhythm. Hannah, we need to talk, he announced, leaning casually against the kitchen counter. I dried my hands, a sense of foreboding settling over me. What's on your mind? I asked, trying to sound calm. Anna's thinking about moving here to the city for a job, he revealed, a spark of excitement in his voice. My heart skipped a beat. This was completely out of the blue. Oh, that's surprising, I managed to say. Yeah, isn't it fantastic? Angel continued, oblivious to my discomfort. But here's what I was thinking. You could quit your job and stay home to manage the house and kids. The plate I was holding nearly slipped through my fingers and crashed into the sink. Excuse me? You can't be serious, I stammered. Angel frowned, his expression firm. I am serious. Anna needs to work, and someone has to look after the kids. I was stunned. Angel, I'm not giving up my career to babysit someone else's children. That's just not fair. What's not fair, he countered sharply, is expecting Anna to juggle everything by herself. Taking a deep breath, I tried to keep the peace. Let's think about this for a moment. Where does Anna plan to live if she gets this job? Before he could answer, Anna herself breezed into the kitchen, grinning. Oh, didn't Angel tell you? I'll be moving in here with my awesome brother. He's always been so supportive. I turned to Angel, my eyes demanding an immediate explanation. He shifted uneasily. Hannah, can we discuss this later? He muttered, avoiding my gaze. No, Angel. We need to talk about this now. I insisted, my voice shaking a little. I'm not comfortable with this setup. It's already crowded here with just the three of us. Angel's face suddenly brightened, as though he had just thought of a brilliant idea. But honey, this could be perfect. We've been planning to buy a house anyway. Now we have an even better reason to move sooner. There'll be plenty of room for everyone. I couldn't believe his audacity. Angel, that's not the point. We can't just... He cut me off mid-sentence, his attention drifting. Sorry, Hannah. We'll talk later. I promised the kids some playtime. And just like that, he was off, leaving me alone, standing dumbfounded in the kitchen, feeling like I'd been blindsided. From that day forward, things between us shifted. Angel no longer drove me to work, always the same excuse. Sorry, babe, I'm really swamped this morning. I knew something was off, but had no proof, and found myself shouldering the burden of the commute. One afternoon, I returned home early, hoping to catch a break and perhaps prepare dinner in advance. Instead, I walked into complete chaos. Anna was lounging on the sofa, engrossed in a reality TV show, while her kids wreaked havoc around her. Anna, I tried to keep my composure. What's happening here? She barely looked up. Oh, hi, Hannah. The kids were bored, so I let them play. I surveyed the scene in horror. The walls were scribbled with crayon. Mysterious stains marred the sofa, and my cherished houseplants were toppled over, dirt scattered all around. This isn't playing, Anna. This is destroying our home. I found it hard to hide my frustration as I spoke to Anna, who simply shrugged nonchalantly and returned her focus to the television. They're just kids, Hannah. Lighten up, she said. Taking a deep breath and counting to 10 silently, I tried to steer the conversation towards something constructive. Anna, weren't you searching for a job? Any luck with that? She waved her hand dismissively. Oh, I've sent out my resume to numerous places, but nothing appealing has come up yet. They all demand too much for too little pay. I'm not that desperate. I clenched my teeth, holding back a sharp response. Of course, she wasn't desperate. After all, she was living comfortably with Angel and me, and we were shouldering all the expenses and chores. That evening, as Angel and I prepared for bed, I attempted once more to reason with him. Angel, we need to establish some basic rules. Anna can't continue to let the kids run wild, and she really needs to start helping out with household chores. Angel sighed, his expression one of exasperation. Hannah, Anna's having a tough time. Can't you cut her some slack? Slack? Angel? I've been giving her slack for weeks, and our home is turning into a disaster. I'm doing everything around here, and you make me feel like I'm the unreasonable one. Keep your voice down, Angel hissed. You'll wake everyone up. Look, I know it's not ideal, but she's family. We need to stick together. As I lay in bed later, listening to the quiet rhythm of Angel's breathing, I found myself wondering when I had ceased to be considered part of the family, and more distressingly, how much longer I could endure living this way. As the days stretched into weeks, the household chaos only deepened. Angel seemed completely oblivious to the turmoil his sister and her children were causing. Every time I tried to introduce some order or ask the children to tidy up after themselves, Anna would quickly complain to Angel. Angel, I overheard her say one evening, her voice laden with feigned concern, I don't think Hannah likes the kids. She's always telling them off and making them clean. They're just children, you know. I waited, hoping Angel would stand up for me and explain that asking for basic cleanliness wasn't unreasonable. Instead, I heard him sigh. I'm sorry, Anna. I'll talk to her. That night, Angel confronted me in our bedroom. Look at this place, Hannah. It's a mess. If you can't manage it with the kids around, then maybe what, Angels? I interjected, already dreading the conclusion he was reaching. Maybe you should consider quitting your job. If you were home full-time, you could keep the house in order without so much stress on the kids. I laughed bitterly, disbelief mingling with anger. So now it's child labor to expect kids to clean up after themselves? Angel, do you even hear yourself? But he wasn't really listening. He'd been pushing this narrative for a while, and I was tired of resisting it. You know what, Angel?
Fine.
You want me to quit? I quit, I declared, though my mind was already forming a different plan. His eyes widened in surprise. Really? You mean it? I nodded.
Yep.
I'll call work tomorrow and tell them. Angel's face lit up with a wide grin, and he hugged me tightly, not noticing my rigid posture. Oh, Hannah, this is fantastic. You'll see. Everything will be better now. The next day, I did call work, but not to resign. Instead, I spoke with my boss and explained that I needed to take some urgent personal time to sort out my home life, hinting at changes that were brewing but not yet decided. I had recently agreed to take 1 month of unpaid leave for family reasons. Fortunately, I had trained an intern who was ready to step in during my absence, and my boss was supportive when I submitted my request. When I broke the news to Angel that I would be quitting my job temporarily, his face lit up with pride. He exchanged a knowing look with Anna, as if to say, "See, I knew Hannah would understand the importance of family." Observing their celebratory moment, I felt disconnected, almost like an outsider in my own home. Despite the odd feeling, I reminded myself that this arrangement was just for 5 months, a period I had given myself to evaluate how things would unfold and to see if Angel would recognize the missteps in our current setup. The following morning, Angel left for work, giving me a kiss on the cheek and wishing me a great day at home, confident that I would handle everything perfectly. I managed a smile and waved him off before turning to face the chaos inside our house. Anna was lounging on the sofa, remote in hand, while her kids ran around wildly. From that day forward, my life became an endless cycle of household chores and childcare. Each morning, I woke at dawn to prepare breakfast for everyone, pack Angel's lunch, and then spend the rest of my day cleaning, cooking, and watching over Anna's children. Meanwhile, Anna seemed to be on a never-ending vacation, often leaving the house to shop or meet friends for coffee, casually leaving her kids in my care without a second thought. As the days merged into a blur of domestic duties, I watched Anna drive away in Angel's car, feeling stranded at home, juggling housework and childcare. Angel, for his part, seemed completely unaware of the imbalance. He would return home, give me a peck on the cheek, and casually ask about my day, as though I had chosen this life, as though I was living out my dream rather than sacrificing for his sister's convenience. One evening, as I served a dinner I had spent hours preparing while Anna took a nap, Angel announced that Anna's birthday was coming up. He had planned something special and told Anna to keep her schedule free for the evening of the 13th. On her birthday, we all drove to LeBlanc, the most expensive restaurant in town, a place Angel and I had once dreamt of visiting for our anniversaries, but always decided against to save money for our house. At the restaurant, Angel's parents greeted us, showering Anna with attention and barely acknowledging me. As we settled in, I felt more like an observer than a participant in the celebration. The dinner conversation centered entirely on Anna, her challenges, her strengths, and her dreams. I remained quiet, feeling increasingly invisible. After the main course, Angel stood up and tapped his glass to make a toast. He praised Anna for her resilience and strength, which he said he greatly admired. As the applause died down, he reached into his pocket to reveal a special surprise for her birthday, deepening the sense of exclusion I felt at that moment. At that moment, holding a small box, my heart soared with hope. Could this be a surprise? Was he about to thank me for all my sacrifices with a thoughtful gift? However, as he turned towards Anna, my anticipation dissolved. He presented the box to her, saying, "Anna, you've mentioned the struggles of getting around with the kids." Opening the box, he revealed a set of car keys and exclaimed, "Happy birthday, sis. Here's your very own car, just like you always wanted." The room burst into cheers and applause. Anna leapt up and embraced Angel, overwhelmed with joy. "Oh my God, Angel, I can't believe this. You're the best brother ever." Meanwhile, I sat frozen, shock gripping me. He had bought her a car? Memories of countless conversations where I had expressed our need for a second car flooded my mind. Each time, Angel had dismissed it, saying we needed to save for a house. "Angel," I began, striving for composure, "may I ask why you chose such an expensive gift for Anna?" The room fell silent, all eyes on us. Angel's smile wavered. Well, Anna really needs a car. It's tough for her to take the kids to the park or doctor visits, and it'll be essential when she starts her job. His words stung. And what about us? I've been asking for a second car for months. Angel's expression turned stern. Hannah, you're home all day. You don't need a car. His dismissive tone felt like a physical blow. How much did this car cost, Angel? He shifted uneasily. $37,070. The room seemed to spin. $77,070? Where did that money come from? Angel cleared his throat. I took it from our joint account, but I'll replace it once my work bonus comes through. I couldn't contain my frustration any longer. You took our savings without discussing it with me? That was for our house. Angel, I want that money back now. Angel's mother gasped. Hannah, how can you be so selfish? Your sister-in-law needs this car. But my patience had worn thin. Selfish? I've sacrificed my career, my dreams, my identity for this family. Angel's face flushed with anger. If you're going to be so greedy and inflexible, fine. I'll take out a loan and replace the money. No. I exploded, past the point of caring about the spectacle we were causing. I don't want a loan. I want you to sell the car and return our savings. Anna, who had been quiet, chimed in sharply. See, Angel, I told you she was controlling. You're letting her dictate everything. Angel's parents nodded in agreement. His father spoke sternly. Hannah, you need to understand your place. Angel is the head of this household. I felt overwhelmed, as if I were drowning in a sea of judgment. Angel stood abruptly, his chair scraping loudly. That's enough, Hannah. You've ruined the evening with your behavior. Don't you know how to act in public? Tears welled up as the weight of the evening crashed down on me. As tears threatened to break free, I restrained them and stood, grasping my purse firmly. I'm leaving, I announced, my voice steady. Angel, no longer mindful of the other diners gawking at us, erupted. Get out, you ungrateful freeloader. I'm the breadwinner here, and you ought to listen to me. Perhaps if you actually worked, you might earn a say, he continued, his words striking me like punches. I yearned to shout back that I hadn't quit my job, that I was just on leave, but I swallowed the words. What was the use? Their minds were made up about me. Exiting the restaurant, Angel's ranting echoed behind me, proclaiming how I lived off his efforts and dared to question his choices. The cool night air brushed against my face as tears finally escaped. I felt a mixture of humiliation, anger, and a resolute decision to end this. I arrived at our apartment, my hands trembling as I tried the keys. The nanny glanced up in surprise as I stormed in, tears marking my face. In our bedroom, I robotically packed my suitcase with clothes, essentials, and some cherished keepsakes. I left Angel a concise note. I'm at a hotel. Don't contact me. The hotel room felt stark, yet provided a refuge. That night, sleep was elusive as I replayed the distressing dinner. By dawn, I was resolute. I called a reputable divorce lawyer, Anna Garcia, as soon as her office opened. In her office, I recounted the slow decay of our marriage, the financial betrayals, and the humiliation endured. Anna listened intently, scribbling notes. Based on your account, you have a solid basis for divorce, she affirmed after I had finished. Driven by a need for a fresh start, I secured a small apartment near my workplace and requested to resume work early, which my boss readily agreed to. Settling into a new routine, I hoped for a straightforward divorce without malice, seeking only fairness. During our initial mediation session, I proposed, let's handle this amicably. Just return the money you used for your sister's car, and we can split the rest of our funds equally. Angel scoffed at this. That car was a gift. You're being unreasonable, he countered. It became clear after several unproductive sessions that we would need to settle this in court. The ensuing months blurred into a series of legal battles and court dates, with Angel resisting at every turn, attempting to cast me in a negative light. After what seemed like an endless legal battle, the judge finally delivered her verdict. Mr. Johnson had inappropriately used shared funds to buy a car for his sister without his wife's consent. The judge ruled that this was unlawful, and he was ordered to pay Mrs. Johnson half the car's value and all legal fees. Relief flooded through me as the judge spoke. This wasn't just about money. It was about justice being heard and having my rights upheld. Angel was visibly angry as we exited the courthouse. "I hope you're happy," he hissed, accusing me of being greedy. In the weeks that followed, Angel adhered to the court's decision and transferred the necessary funds to my account. He had to secure a loan to meet the financial demands, but I felt no remorse. His choices had led us here, and now we were both navigating the aftermath. 3 months post-divorce, I had embraced a new beginning. My modest apartment was a sanctuary of tranquility and simple pleasures, a stark contrast to the chaos of my previous marriage. I revived old friendships, dedicated myself to my job, and even started nurturing a small herb garden on my balcony. For the first time in a long while, I felt genuinely at peace with myself. One quiet Sunday, I was startled by a knock at the door. Peering through the peephole, my heart raced at the sight of Angel, disheveled and anxious. Curiosity overcame me, and I opened the door. "Hannah," Angel's voice was raspy. "Can we talk?" I hesitated, but eventually stepped aside to let him in. He surveyed my neat, welcoming apartment. "You look good," he remarked quietly. "The place looks nice." "Thanks," I replied cautiously. "What brings you here?" Angel collapsed onto the couch, his distress evident. I messed up, Hannah. I see that now. I came to apologize and to ask for your help." I sat opposite him, silently urging him to continue. He confessed that he had lost his job due to company downsizing and was struggling financially, still burdened by the loan for his sister's car. "Anna refuses to sell the car or find a job. She's not ready yet," he explained. Despite a fleeting sense of satisfaction, I remained composed. "I'm sorry to hear that, Angel, but I'm not sure how I can help," I said as he looked at me, desperation in his eyes. "Our apartment is a disaster. Anna doesn't clean, and the kids are uncontrollable. We're at risk of eviction due to the mess and noise," he admitted, realizing the gravity of his situation. "I now understand that Anna isn't just struggling, she's exploiting the situation, and I've allowed it." As I listened to Angel's admissions, I felt a mix of vindication and pity. His realization was a step, but our paths had irrevocably diverged. I could only hope that he would find a way to change his circumstances as I had mine. Feeling a swirl of bittersweet emotions, I acknowledged my correctness, but questioned the price paid. Angel, his voice faltering, expressed his desire for a fresh start. "I know I don't deserve this chance, but I'm hoping we could try again. I've learned so much, and I miss what we had. Maybe, with your guidance, we could mend things." His words momentarily took me back to the blissful beginnings of our marriage, the shared dreams and plans for our future. However, the sting of his betrayal, the humiliation, and the months I felt overlooked and unappreciated quickly resurfaced. Taking a deep breath, I addressed him. "Angel, I appreciate your apology, and I'm sorry for the struggles you're facing, but I can't revert to our past." His face dropped in disappointment, yet he persisted. "Hannah, I've changed. I see everything so clearly now." I responded softly but firmly, "And I've changed too, Angel. These past few months have revealed my strengths and the respect I deserve. If you could betray me once, it's possible it could happen again when times get hard." He argued he wouldn't, claiming his lessons were well learned. "Perhaps you have," I acknowledged, "but that doesn't alter the fact that I've found happiness and freedom on my own. I've relished making decisions for myself without needing to consider a partner who failed to value my contributions." Angel's shoulders dropped in resignation. "So, there's no chance for us?" he asked quietly. Standing, I indicated the conversation's end. "It's best you leave, Angel. I do hope things improve for you, but I'm not the answer to your problems. You need to depend on yourself and make your own decisions." He nodded slowly, rising to his feet. At the door, he turned back. "I really am sorry, Hannah, for everything." "I know," I replied softly. "Goodbye, Angel." As I shut the door behind him, I leaned against it, exhaling deeply. A whirlwind of emotions enveloped me, sadness for the dreams once cherished, a slight sense of triumph at Angel's realization of his mistakes, but above all, an overwhelming feeling of relief and freedom. One morning, when I was just 12 years old, my parents called me into the living room for a serious talk. Up until that day, I believed divorces happened only to couples who constantly argued about everything, like money, and who couldn't stand being in the same room without shouting. However, my parents were always courteous to each other. Although it had been a long time since our last family outing, I assumed they were simply preoccupied with work. "Elena," my mom began, her tone unusually serene, "your father and I need to tell you something important." As I sat across from them, observing the intentional space on the couch between them, my dad coughed slightly to clear his throat. "We've decided to get a divorce," he declared, as casually as if he were discussing what was for dinner. I blinked in disbelief, waiting for them to say they were joking. But that moment never came. "What?" was all I could muster, my voice barely a whisper. Mom gently touched my hand. "Sometimes people just grow apart, sweetie. Your father and I have found others we want to be with," she explained. Dad nodded in agreement. "I'll be moving out soon. You'll live with your mom, but will visit me too." Trying to digest this shocking news, I struggled with the reality that they were leaving each other for someone else. "Who are these other people?" I asked, feeling small and distant. Mom offered a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "You'll meet them soon. My friend has 3 daughters about your age. That'll be nice, right?" Her words stung. Our family was falling apart, and I was supposed to be happy about it? Dad tried to make the situation seem better. "And my partner has a son," he added as if offering a consolation prize. Overwhelmed, I stood up quickly, nearly toppling the coffee table. "I don't want new siblings. I want us to stay together." I blurted out and ran to my room, slamming the door behind me. From my bed, I could hear them speaking in hushed tones downstairs, probably planning more changes to my life. Reflecting on the past months, I recalled how they had started taking me out separately. A movie with Dad one weekend, a cafe with Mom the next. I thought it was special, but it was just them easing me into their separation. The weeks that followed were chaotic. Dad moved out to live with his new wife. They had married in a hasty ceremony, and Mom's new husband moved in with his twin daughters. At first, I was curious about having sisters to share secrets with and chat about life. On their moving day, I approached them with a friendly smile. "Hi, I'm Elena. Needed tours?" The taller twin, Maya, eyed me dismissively. "No thanks," she replied coldly, making it clear they didn't need me. Her sister chimed in, "And just so we're clear, we're not your sisters. You're just extra." Her words hit me hard, leaving me speechless as they walked away. The feeling of being an outsider in my own home began to sink in, marking the start of a new, uncertain chapter. That evening, as I walked through the door, laughter echoed behind me. The sound belonged to my new family, who seemed to revel in their own world, a world where I felt increasingly like an outsider. That night, I lay in bed, the unfamiliar sounds of settling in wrapped around me, amplifying the feeling of being a guest in my own house. The following afternoon only deepened my sense of displacement. Returning from school, I found the twins draped in my clothes. "Hey," I exclaimed in disbelief. "Those are mine." Maya rolled her eyes dismissively. "Mom said we could borrow them." "Don't be so greedy," she retorted. I turned to Mom for support, only to see her offering a strained smile. "Elena, sharing is caring. The girls are just trying to fit in." But they were wearing my favorite shirt. I retreated to my room, tears threatening to spill as I closed the door behind me. Over the next few days, it became painfully clear that I was no longer the focal point of Mom's affection. She lavished the twins with new clothes and toys, while my belongings gradually diminished, gifted to my new sisters without my consent. One afternoon, I accidentally caught a snippet of Mom's conversation with her new husband. "The girls need new phones," she mentioned casually. "We could use the money from Elena's birthday fund." My birthday? Were they really considering skipping my birthday for them? When the day finally arrived, It seemed Mom had all but forgotten. "Oh, honey," she said distractedly when I reminded her. "I'm so sorry, but the twins have a big sports event today. We'll celebrate another time, okay?" But that another time never came. I held a glimmer of hope that perhaps things might be different at Dad's place, where I spent every other weekend. Unfortunately, the reality there was no less harsh. Dad's new wife was expecting, and her attention was consumed by her pregnancy and her son, who was nothing short of a tormentor. One night, a tickling sensation jolted me awake to find what looked like a huge spider on my nose. My scream shattered the silence of the house. As the light snapped on, I realized it was just a plastic toy, with Dad's stepson smirking at the doorway. "What's going on?" demanded Dad's wife, her voice heavy with irritation as she entered the room. Elena woke us all up with her screaming, the boy claimed innocently. "You little," I began, but was sharply cut off. "Honestly, Elena, what is wrong with you? Are you some kind of hysterical lunatic?" Dad's wife scolded. I looked to Dad, hoping for some support, but he merely stood there, discomfort etched across his face. "He put it there." I protested. "He knows I'm scared of spiders." "Don't be ridiculous," she snapped. "Stop lying and go to sleep. I don't want to see you for the rest of the night." Dad, silent and uneasy, finally spoke. "I'll take you home in the morning, Elena." As they left, the room darkened once more, and I was left alone, a realization sinking in deeply. I no longer had a place that felt like home. Life at Mom's grew only colder. The twins, now confident in their impunity, grew crueler by the day. One day, I returned home to discover my favorite mug shattered on the kitchen floor, the twins nearby, feigning innocence. "Oh, Elena," Maya cooed, her tone overly sweet. "We're so sorry." As I was attempting to prepare some tea, an incident unfolded that seemed suspicious to me. It started when my siblings claimed they were making tea as a nice gesture, which was out of character for them as they had never shown such kindness toward me. Before I could confront them, my mother and stepfather entered. "What's going on here?" my mother inquired, noticing the mess. One of the twins quickly blamed me, saying I had smashed my mug in anger. My stepfather, visibly upset, didn't ask for my side of the story and immediately took me to a small, cluttered storage room at the end of the hallway. The room was dim, musty, and crammed with old, forgotten items. "You need to stay here until you can control your anger," he stated firmly, pushing me inside despite my protests of innocence. He closed the door, leaving me in the darkness. Outside, I could hear my siblings snickering, and one taunted me about the spiders lurking in the dark, trying to frighten me further. I curled up in a corner, trying to keep calm amidst the creeping shadows and unsettling noises. Time dragged on, and no one came to release me, not even my mother. When morning arrived, my mother finally opened the door, looking exhausted. "I hope you've learned your lesson," she said dismissively, urging me to get ready for school. I tried to explain the truth, but she didn't listen, making me realize she would always side with my siblings. Increasingly, I found solace at my aunt's home. Aunt, my father's sister, and her husband, uncle, were always welcoming. They had no children of their own and genuinely enjoyed my company. Initially, I visited them for a few hours after school, but gradually, those visits extended to days and eventually weeks. One day, after a prolonged stay at aunt's, my schoolteacher, Mrs. Sophia, made an unexpected visit to my mother's house. I wasn't there, but I later learned from a neighbor that Mrs. Sophia had been concerned. When confronted, my mother lied, saying I was with my father. Mrs. Sophia, already having confirmed that wasn't true, was alarmed and contacted Child Protective Services. In court, I watched as my parents bickered not about how to care for me, but rather about who had to take on the responsibility. Each argued that they were too busy to deal with a teenager, making me feel unwanted and trivial. At that moment, Aunt intervened. Standing confidently, she requested custody of me. She presented documents proving her and Uncle's financial stability, emphasizing their ability to provide for me. The judge reviewed the papers and then asked me whom I wanted to live with. Without hesitation, I chose Aunt and Uncle, my voice firm yet trembling with emotion. When I first moved in with aunt and uncle, I noticed a sense of relief on my parents' faces that they didn't bother to conceal. Over the following weeks, as I adapted to my new environment, it became clear that aunt and uncle were not just sheltering me, they were wholeheartedly parenting me. They engaged with me daily, helped with my schoolwork, and genuinely paid attention to what I had to say. One evening at dinner, Uncle, acknowledging our new reality, asked, "Elena, what should we call each other now that we're officially your guardians?" After experiencing more warmth and support from them in a few weeks than I had from my own parents over years, I tentatively asked, Could I call you Mom and Dad?" Aunt's eyes welled up with tears as she replied, "Oh, sweetie, we'd be honored." From that moment, they were Mom and Dad. My birth parents gradually became distant memories as my new life unfolded, not only with my new parents, but also with my great-aunt, who I came to know as Grandma. Living nearby, Grandma, a retired surgeon, quickly grew to be one of my favorite people. Her tales from her medical days fascinated me as we gardened together, sparking my own aspiration to pursue a career in medicine. With the encouragement of my new family, I excelled in my studies, and before I knew it, I was graduating high school. Dressed in my cap and gown, I looked into the crowd at the faces of those who mattered most, Mom, Dad, and Grandma, all radiating pride. My biological parents were absent, not even a card sent. I was thrilled to be accepted into medical school on a full scholarship. The subsequent years were a blur of intense learning, late-night study sessions, and clinical rotations, each moment in my white coat filling me with pride and a sense of purpose that Grandma had nurtured. However, our lives took a sudden turn when Mom, Aunt, called one rainy afternoon, her voice trembling as she said, "Elena, honey, it's Grandma. She's gone." The news was shattering. I couldn't believe it. We had plans together, and she was supposed to be at my graduation the following year. The days that followed were a haze of sorrow as we prepared for the funeral. During the reading of the will, I was stunned to learn that Grandma had left me her entire estate, worth nearly $5 million. As I absorbed the shock, Mom and Dad reassured me with tearful yet proud smiles that this was Grandma's way of ensuring my future. As I grappled with my sudden inheritance, my life took another unexpected turn. My phone began to ring with calls from unknown numbers, signaling the beginning of yet another new chapter. When I finally picked up the phone, the voice on the other end made me nearly drop it in shock. "Elena, hi, it's your mother," she said. I hadn't heard from her in years, and before I could say anything, she continued rapidly, "I've been thinking about you a lot lately. How are you? Where are you studying? We should catch up soon." Similar calls followed from my birth father. Both of them now seemed highly interested in reconnecting, inquiring about meeting up and expressing how much they missed me. Feeling a mix of confusion and suspicion, I discussed these sudden calls with my adoptive parents during dinner one night. To my surprise, they laughed heartily. "Oh, Elena," my mom said, wiping away tears of laughter, "I think they might have heard about your inheritance." Part of me wanted to ignore their attempts to reach out, but another part, a part one thought I had long buried, was curious about what it would be like to meet them again and show them the person I had become on my own. "Maybe I should see them," I suggested tentatively. My parents exchanged a look, and then my mom replied, "If that's what you want, we'll support you. But be careful, dear. People can surprise you, and not always in a good way." The next day, I found myself at the familiar porch of my childhood home. Taking a deep breath, I rang the doorbell. The door opened, and there stood my birth mother. We locked eyes for a moment. "Elena," she exclaimed, her voice thick with emotion as she pulled me into a rigid, awkward hug. Over her shoulder, I could see my stepfather and half-sisters, their faces fixed with overly cheerful smiles. Come in," she urged, leading me inside. Dinner was oddly uncomfortable. The twins, once so cruel, were now overly sweet, telling me how much they had missed me. However, I noticed a flicker of annoyance in one of their eyes despite her saccharine words. As we ate, my mother lamented dramatically about the state of their home. "This old house," she sighed, "it's seen better days. The roof needs replacing, and the plumbing is a nightmare. my stepfather added. And with the girls going to college soon, you know how costly that can be? I focused intently on my mashed potatoes, staying silent. My mother continued with feigned concern. The girls are so bright, but with our financial situation. Her voice trailed off as she looked expectantly at me. I met her gaze steadily, but remained quiet. The uncomfortable silence grew until I finally decided to change the subject. So, I said brightly, changing the tone, I've spent a lot of time reflecting on my high school graduation, but the details escape me. The moment remains vivid in my memory, though, especially the way my mother's face paled as she struggled to find words, her expression resembling a bewildered fish. Back then, it seemed like ancient history to me, and her reaction only confirmed she had no real insight into my life, my challenges, my achievements. All she seemed to know was that I had come into some money. One evening, I found myself abruptly rising from my seat, the sound of my chair scraping loudly against the floor as I realized the true purpose of the gathering. This is about my inheritance, isn't it? I voiced calmly, though tension filled the room. My stepfather's face flushed with anger, and my half-siblings awkwardly fixated on their meals. My mother's shocked protest was betrayed by the cold calculation in her eyes. She lacked the warmth one would expect from a parent. Interrupting my stepfather as he started to speak, I declared, "No, I'm done here. Don't contact me again." With those final words, I walked out into the night, leaving behind their indignant cries and a past I no longer needed. Their approval and love were irrelevant. I had a real family waiting for me. Days later, I stood at my father's doorstep, greeted awkwardly by my stepmother, whose strained smile seemed as sour as a lemon. As I stepped inside, a young boy lounging on the couch caught my eye. He had grown since I last saw him, and to my surprise, he offered a genuine smile. "Hey, Elena," he greeted, standing. "Long time no see. I'm Daniel, remember?" Before I could answer, a young girl in pigtails burst into the room, stopping short in front of me with wide, curious eyes. "Who are you?" she demanded. My father, looking worn and weary, introduced me. "Lily, this is your sister, Elena." The evening unfolded with awkward conversations, my stepmother probing into my life, while I kept my answers vague. Daniel, however, showed a genuine interest, particularly in my medical studies. As the night progressed, the true motive of the visit became apparent. My father, nudged by my stepmother's subtle prompts, mentioned Lily's potential at a prestigious private school, hinting at the cost. They were circling around an obvious request for financial help. I maintained a neutral expression, staying silent as my stepmother bluntly put forth, "What your father means, Elena, is that we could really use your help for Lily's schooling." The implication was clear, and I weighed their words carefully, aware of the expectations they placed before me. Taking a deep breath, I felt my patience wearing thin. "Why now?" I asked, looking straight at my father. "Why do you remember me only now that I'm financially stable?" The room fell into an ominous silence. Even Lily, who had been playing with her dolls, seemed to pick up on the tension. My father stuttered, trying to find an excuse, but my stepmother's face contorted with anger. "Listen here," she snapped, all pretenses of kindness vanishing. "You have a duty to support your family. If you refuse, we will take legal action and claim our share. You owe us that much." I couldn't help but laugh. Rising from my chair, I countered, "Actually, legally speaking, you're not my family. You abandoned me, remember? Aunt and uncle are my legal guardians now." As I walked out, ignoring my stepmother's screeching and my father's furious shouts, I felt a surge of mixed emotions, sadness, anger, but mostly relief. Over the next few days, my phone was incessant with calls, texts, and voicemails from them, each message more desperate than the last. My mother's voice in one voicemail pleaded, "Elena, we're losing the house. We'll be homeless. Don't you care?" My father's messages ranged from guilt trips to outright demands. "After all we've done, this is how you repay us?" I let those messages go unanswered and focused on my final year of college, diving into my studies with new resolve. One evening, As I was absorbed in a complex cardiology textbook, an unfamiliar number flashed on my phone. Hesitantly, I answered. "Hello, Elena? It's Daniel, your, stepbrother. I know this is weird, but I wanted to apologize for that spider prank years ago. It was wrong, and I've regretted it." Despite everything, I found myself smiling. "Daniel, that's water under the bridge." His earnestness was palpable. "I've wanted to apologize for a long time," he continued. "I'm not that foolish kid anymore." We talked for over an hour. Daniel was now a first-year computer engineer student, surprisingly funny and humble, not at all like the bratty kid I remembered. By the end of our call, we'd made plans to meet for coffee. Over the months, Daniel and I built a real friendship. It was odd connecting with someone from my past, but it felt right. We met regularly, and he became a supportive part of my life. Meanwhile, I was making strides in my own life, my long nights and challenging exams culminating in my graduation. As I stood on the graduation stage, diploma in hand, I saw my parents and Daniel cheering for me. My heart was full of joy and gratitude. I learned through Daniel that my birth parents were struggling financially, but I maintained my distance. It was not out of spite or anger, but simply an acknowledgement that our lives had diverged. One day, over coffee, Daniel mentioned his little sister Lily, my half-sister.
"She's really sharp," he said.
"Always curious, always reading. But Dad and my stepmom don't really support her curiosity." I thought of the bright-eyed little girl I'd met. Maybe, I began thoughtfully, I could help with her education. Set up a college fund. Not for them, but for her. Driving home that evening, I reflected on my journey. The pain, the abandonment, the unexpected inheritance. It had all led me here. I was Dr. Elena Johnson now, with a promising future in medicine and a family who loved me. I had a true friend in Daniel and the opportunity to make a difference in a young girl's life. "10 years ago, my name is Alina. When I was 25, my family abruptly cut ties with me, which left me in a tough spot both mentally and financially. At that time, I wasn't financially prepared to live on my own, especially since I had just started a job and was trying to save money by living at home. The root of this family rift was an accusation from my sister, Eden, who is significantly older than me. Eden had been married to William for 1 year when she suddenly filed for divorce, accusing him of having an affair. The supposed other woman was a friend of mine, Ariana, whom I had introduced to William because he was a nutrition director who could help her with her goal to gain weight. This connection led my sister to believe that I had inadvertently facilitated the affair. I was blindsided by these events because both William and Ariana had always shown themselves to be upstanding individuals. William was utterly devoted to Eden, and Ariana, a genuinely decent person, would never intentionally become involved with a married man. Despite the lack of concrete evidence, my parents sided with Eden without hesitation, driven perhaps by their immediate emotional response to her distress. This family drama led to them kicking me out of the house at a time when I was just beginning to establish my financial independence. It was a sudden and harsh exile that I had no time to prepare for. Fast forward to many years later, I received an unexpected email from Ariana, who had come across definitive proof that contradicted the accusations against her and William. This evidence shed new light on the situation and prompted me to confront the past, although it also stirred up old conflicts and strained relationships further. Navigating these troubled waters was challenging, as it involved reassessing familial bonds and personal convictions. This saga of misunderstanding and the eventual quest for truth deeply impacted my relationship with my family, highlighting the complexities of loyalty, truth, and reconciliation. It was clear that my parents would always favor their daughter over their son-in-law, but I never grasped why they would disown me so quickly just because my sister, Eden, demanded it. One day, she burst in, threw a fit, and somehow persuaded my parents to expel me, blaming me for introducing her husband, William, to another woman, Ariana. She claimed I had destroyed her marriage, and shockingly, my parents sided with her. Devastated, I tried to reason with them, but they refused to hear me out. They sternly told me to leave, or they would force me out. Within a day, I lost both my family and my home, with nowhere to go. I found myself weeping on the sidewalk, clutching my belongings, until I mustered the strength to spend the night at a friend's place. I attempted to reach out to my parents repeatedly over the following days to no avail. My friend graciously let me stay with him while I searched for my own apartment. It became apparent that my parents firmly believed I was at fault for the divorce. They even expressed disgust at my actions before throwing me out, which baffled me since I wasn't the one who had an affair with William. They had even blocked my number, and when I tried to visit, my mother threatened to call the police on me. I soon came to terms with the harsh reality that my parents truly blamed me for the ordeal. Reflecting on my childhood, it made sense. My sister was always the favored child. As a second, unplanned child, I often felt overlooked. Although I didn't mind it growing up, I never imagined it would lead to such a drastic fallout. In hindsight, maybe I should have anticipated something like this, but truthfully, I doubt anyone could have predicted such a dramatic turn of events. For several weeks, I tried to piece together the puzzle of my life on my own after being isolated from my family and friends. Eden and my parents had completely shut me out, and even William, who was once a friend, had blocked all communication with me. This abrupt disconnection left me bewildered and alone, unable to reach anyone who might shed light on the situation. Since both Eden and William had moved out of their shared home and returned to their respective parents' houses, I was left with no direct way to contact them. In my quest for clarity, I reluctantly turned to Ariana, someone I wasn't particularly close to but felt might have some insights. I met with her and laid out everything, questioning her about the rumors of an affair that Eden had spread. Ariana strongly refuted these claims, insisting that her interactions with William had always been strictly professional. She reassured me by sharing details of her stable, long-term relationship and her upcoming wedding plans, even showing me photos to prove her point. Her sincerity and the evidence she provided contrasted sharply with Eden's accusations, leading me to believe that the reasons behind the rift in my family were based on falsehoods. Without concrete proof, however, I found myself unable to mend the broken ties with my family or confront them with the truth about the situation. Feeling estranged and desperate, I yearned to return to the warmth and familiarity of my family life, but the circumstances forced me to accept the reality of my isolation. Over time, I managed to channel my energies into my work, finding solace in my responsibilities and the routine they brought. This new focus not only helped me to cover my living expenses, but also served as a distraction from the emotional turmoil I had endured. Through this process, I began to heal, gradually overcoming the feelings of abandonment and moving forward with my life, albeit on a path I had never anticipated. I faced a difficult choice back then. I was in pain but knew I needed to push forward, even without the support of my family. As time passed, I began to see improvements in my life. I moved out of my small apartment into a larger one and recently got engaged to my girlfriend of 3 years. The announcement of our engagement on social media turned out to be unexpectedly pivotal. Just a few days after our engagement went public, I received an astonishing email. It came unexpectedly and laid out the entire backstory of my sister Eden's divorce. It provided all the answers I had been seeking, complete with evidence. My fiancée, Daisy, who is usually active on Instagram, had also shared our engagement photo on Facebook. This post reached a broader audience, including my former brother-in-law, William. William and Daisy had met a few years ago at a seminar since she works as a surgeon, and they connected on Facebook. That connection led William to discover my engagement post. It's a small world indeed, and for the first time, I felt fortunate about its intricacies. William chose to contact me via an anonymous email a few days after seeing the post. He later explained that he opted for anonymity to avoid any awkwardness, given it had been years since his divorce, and he didn't want to appear as though he hadn't moved on. Moreover, he had been the one to block me initially, so reaching out about something so far in the past felt strange to him. The email he sent contained detailed accounts and proof of events from 10 years ago, which were eye-opening. Contrary to what had been claimed for years, it was my sister, not William, who had been unfaithful. She had an affair with a friend of mine, Henry. He worked as a waiter at a local bakery store. This revelation was shocking, especially since she had previously accused William of the very deeds she was guilty of. This new information brought a significant shift in how I viewed past events, reshaping old perceptions and changing my understanding of many relationships. Back in the day, I had no inkling that Eden had been seeing Henry, as they had always managed to keep their interactions under the radar. However, William eventually pieced it together. When confronted, Eden falsely accused me of orchestrating their connection. She claimed that since I introduced her to Henry, knowing he was an aspiring she had musical talent, it was all my doing. They apparently fell in love quickly, and she even implicated me in helping them maintain their secrecy. This was utterly untrue. I was unaware of their relationship until it blew up. Henry was furious when he discovered their affair and, in his anger, blocked my entire family, a decision he later regretted and admitted was rash. Later, Henry explained to me in person, wanting to avoid the impersonal nature of emails, that his initial reaction was too hasty. However, he had attached evidence to his email, which included screenshots of conversations between my sister and Henry. These messages detailed their deception and included declarations of love and future plans together. Eden's use of her middle name in these emails, a detail not widely known, solidified her involvement. Convinced that William was behind the email, I scoured social media connections and confirmed my suspicion upon finding his connection to my sister. I reached out to him, and we met recently. He revealed that he had learned of Eden's deceit through Ariana, who had known him for years. I regretted asking Ariana to keep my involvement a secret, realizing too late the complexity it added to the situation. When I pieced everything together, I realized I could have cleared my name long before if I hadn't spoken out. It turned out that William had bumped into her a few years back, and she had inquired about his divorce. That conversation led William to discover the fabrications Eden had spread about us. He wanted to come clean to me sooner but hesitated because he felt awkward about it. Honestly, if William weren't so prone to embarrassment, managing my problems would have been simpler. Nonetheless, I forgave him since I needed his assistance to confront my sister's deceit. Eden had manipulated our parents into supporting her financially through her divorce by lying blatantly, even implicating me to strengthen her story. She knew just one chat with our mutual friend Ariana would reveal the truth to me. The realization that my own sister could act so selfishly was baffling. She never attempted to correct the lies, and our parents had naively believed everything she told them. She was aware that exposing her infidelity would jeopardize her position, and she couldn't take that risk. But the truth was out now, and I was determined to use it to expose her as she had done to me all those years ago. I hadn't been home for 10 years and wasn't sure if my family still lived at the same address. Luckily, they hadn't moved, a fact I confirmed through an old neighbor. It was unsurprising to find that Eden was still living with them. She had always been lazy, preferring to let our elderly parents handle all the household duties if it meant she could avoid any hard work. So, without prior notice, 5 days ago, William and I decided to show up at their doorstep. When my mom opened the door, we entered without giving her a moment to understand what was unfolding. The living room hosted my dad and Eden, reuniting us briefly as a family, but the peace was short-lived. As soon as we stepped in, my dad's demeanor changed drastically. He threatened to call the police if we didn't leave immediately. I retorted that he could do as he pleased, but only after reviewing the documents we brought. My parents were baffled, while Eden, looking nauseous, excused herself to her room. It seemed like she was trying to avoid confrontation, but escaping the situation was futile. William proceeded to present the divorce papers and the emails between Eden and Henry as I laid out the backstory. He explained how Eden had been forced to part with our grandmother's cherished diamond ring in the settlement because, as a high school teacher, she couldn't afford the financial demands and had to sell the ring instead. The revelations shocked my parents, particularly when they learned of the depth of deception. The tension escalated when my dad demanded Eden explain herself. Despite the overwhelming evidence, she continued to deflect and lie. Having had enough, my dad packed her belongings and expelled her from the house, then sternly told the rest of us to leave as well. I wasted no time leaving with William, while my sister, desperate and tearful, pleaded to stay, echoing my own past pleas for familial reconciliation. This moment felt like a profound twist of karma, and I couldn't help feeling a sense of justice. Days later, my sister appeared at my place, insisting I mend things with our parents. I was surprised she found me, but I firmly told her I owed her nothing after everything that had transpired. She had wrought her own ruin. I once returned a favor to someone, achieving an equal footing, but it seems that actions stripped her of her dignity. When I confronted her, she broke down, calling me a monster. I didn't indulge in her theatrics, simply closing the door on her tears, retreating to my music while my fiancée, Daisy, worked at her study, ensuring our peace. Eventually, she left, but not without labeling me a vengeful monster on my door. Personally, I don't regret my actions or feel any remorse. She's convinced that I'm the antagonist, yet all I did was mirror her past misdeeds towards me, albeit honestly, while she had spun lies that greatly affected my life. This situation brings me back to an incident 10 years ago when her accusations nearly ruined my life, resulting in her own downfall recently. Despite this, she continues to harass me, even resorting to calling multiple times until I threatened to involve the police. She's desperate, struggling on a teacher's salary, but I find her pleas for sympathy unfounded. I've blocked her numerous times, yet she persists, roping in friends to reach me. Our parents, who are no better, stumbled upon my engagement announcement and now seek reconciliation, wanting to attend my wedding without so much as an apology. I remain unmoved by their attempts to re-enter my life, holding firm in my resolve. What are your thoughts? Am I wrong for wanting justice served after all these years? Or is it just desserts for the pain caused by her false claims? Today was quite the eventful day. It's baffling how some people muster the courage to speak nonsense, but thankfully, I've stayed out of the fray. Instead, Daisy and I have spent the day chuckling over their messages. It's almost impossible to believe they're serious. It's truly a sad situation for them. Adding to the chaos, Eden showed up at my doorstep again. Just yesterday, I warned her I'd report her for harassment. As I was about to head to work, she dramatically threw herself on my car's hood, refusing to move until we talked. It was incredibly frustrating, and I ultimately had to call the police. They arrived and escorted her away while she made a scene, attempting to paint me as the villain. But her theatrics didn't sway anyone. It took a while, but I pressed charges and then rushed off to work, determined not to let this episode ruin my day. As expected, my parents bailed her out since she's their favorite. Later, my parents sent me a long message criticizing my actions, citing a supposed honest mistake from nearly a decade ago. It's ironic, considering there was nothing honest or accidental about the way my sister and they treated me. They were fully aware of their actions. Despite knowing I had nowhere else to go, they didn't hesitate to throw me out. Now that the tables are turned, I see no reason to extend forgiveness or kindness. I replied, telling them they lost any moral authority over me years ago and should stop fooling themselves. I haven't blocked them yet due to lack of time, but it's on my to-do list. Once done, I hope to finally be free from all this family drama. I just got home from work and checked my social media, only to find yet another lengthy message from my parents. Daisy and I just shook our heads in disbelief. I recently came across a message that left me and my friend Daisy in stitches. It was perhaps the most absurd thing I've ever read. It seems some people who think we're still family don't realize that their words no longer affect me. They live in their own delusional bubble, thinking they are victims or heroes. They told me they've welcomed my sister Eden back home, claiming that both of their children deserve a second chance, as if I was the one who had erred. While they've reconciled with my sister, they also expect Daisy and me to visit them for a dinner to resolve our issues amicably before my upcoming wedding. They even assume I want them at my wedding, a notion that made us laugh even harder. I responded to their message, making it clear I had no interest in their invitation and that I've been perfectly content without them for the past 10 years. Their actions only reinforce my decision to distance myself. I no longer need them or their forgiveness. They can keep playing the perfect family with my sister, but as for me, I've moved on. I've blocked them, cutting off all communication, as I no longer find humor in their attempts. I'm certain they'll try to reach out again, but they'll find that I'm unreachable. Daisy is the only family I need now. As for my parents and sister, they've never been able to see beyond themselves, and I doubt they ever will. Should they try to contact me again, they'll be dealing with my lawyer. That's a promise I intend to keep. I'm Quinn, and I'd like to share the story of my life, how it began so wonderfully and then shifted in ways I never saw coming. I was married to Kevin, a relaxed man who inherited a quaint Italian restaurant from his father. We settled into a cozy house left to me by my grandmother. It was here that we began our family, welcoming our son, Frank. In the early years, Kevin and I would spend evenings on our back porch after Frank was asleep. We'd dream together about our future, saving up for a bigger house, perhaps having another child. Kevin always envisioned it with a beer in his hand, while I thought about giving Frank the best possible education, hoping he could attend college without the burden of student loans like I had. Life was simple and joyful, but over time, as I advanced in my career, Kevin seemed satisfied with just maintaining the status quo at the restaurant. It remained cozy but struggled to bring in enough revenue. One evening, while cleaning up after dinner, I broached the subject of enhancing the restaurant. "Kevin, have you considered adding new items to the menu or maybe some updates to bring in more customers?" I asked. Kevin, scrubbing a plate a bit too vigorously, replied indifferently, "Why fix what isn't broken? We're doing fine." "But we could be doing so much better," I countered, drying my hands on a towel. Kevin slammed the plate down, frustration evident. "Why are you always pushing? Can't you just be happy with what we have?" "I'm tired of you always wanting more," he exclaimed. I dropped the conversation, but it wasn't just the restaurant that was an issue. As I became the orthodontist, tensions rose. Kevin spent more days at the restaurant, not really working, just avoiding home, and often he would end up at his mother Anna's house. One day, after he spent another evening at his mother's, I confronted him. "You ran off to your mom's again last night, Kevin. When you're there, who do you think manages everything here?" I asked. He rolled his eyes and tossed his keys on the table. "Oh, come off it, Mom understands me, and she doesn't nag me about money or working more," he retorted. That hurt, especially since I had been covering his shortfalls, even sending $900 monthly to Anna to help her out. It was becoming increasingly difficult to manage all our bills and expenses. Later that week, I called Anna to explain our financial strain and the need for Kevin to contribute more. "Anna, I'm doing what I can, but Kevin needs to step up. We're struggling," I explained. Rather than showing understanding, Anna became defensive. "Quinn, you're his wife. It's your job to support him, not push him around. You're always after my boy to change. Can't you see you're the problem?" she accused. Anger welled up inside me. "I am supporting him, Anna, more than you know. I even send you money every month. How can you call me the problem? You're calling me a gold digger?" "I'm the one counting every penny to keep us afloat," I replied, her words stinging before she abruptly hung up. As night fell, I pondered over our conversation, feeling both frustrated and saddened by the turn our lives had taken. I watched Kevin slump onto the sofa, a beer in his grasp, absorbed in his phone. Meanwhile, I tucked Frank into bed, the day's conversation with his mother weighing heavily on my shoulders. Life at home had become increasingly challenging since Kevin's restaurant fell on hard times. He had been forced to let his staff go one by one until it was just him, alone, making pizzas in a quiet part of town. Even then, the business dwindled to the point where it couldn't keep the lights on. The day he closed the restaurant for good, he returned home looking utterly defeated, yet there was a defiant glint in his eyes. This isn't the end. It's merely a setback," he said, trying to maintain composure as he hung up his apron for the last time. I sat at the kitchen table, bills scattered around like a spread of ominous cards. "A setback, Kevin? The restaurant is closed. We need a new income source, and we need it now," I replied. His pride took a hit, and he bristled. I'll find something, but I won't just take any job. I have my standards. I was a business owner, and what does that mean now, Kevin? We need actual money, not standards, I countered, my frustration boiling over. He just shook his head, muttering about not becoming a desk jockey. I have a degree, Quinn. I'm aiming for a managerial position, nothing less. I was stunned by his audacity. Your business just tanked, and you think you can land a top job just like that? I snapped, unable to mask the irritation in my voice. He didn't respond, just stormed out, likely heading to his mother's place. That's how things went now. Whenever it got tough, Kevin disappeared. The weekend brought no relief, only his mother Anna crashing in with her demands. She arrived just as I was preparing lunch, her timing as flawless as her audacity. Quinn, you need to talk to your bosses. Get Kevin a good position at your company. He deserves it, she insisted, as if it were the simplest solution. I let out a harsh, short laugh. Anna, that's not how it works. I started at the bottom and worked my way up. They don't just hand out top jobs because I ask. She narrowed her eyes, her lips thinning. You just don't want him to succeed, afraid he might overshadow you, huh? I explained calmly, despite the rising tension. Seriously, Anna, Kevin walking into a senior role with no experience isn't going to happen. It's not about fear. It's about reality. Lunch continued under a cloud of chilliness, Kevin silent, likely ruminating over his bruised ego and his mother's words. Kevin's days turned into a blur of inertia, lounging with his beer and phone while I managed work, house chores, and caring for our son Frank. Each evening, I returned home to a chaotic house and no dinner in sight. Kevin, could you at least start dinner? I'm running on fumes here, I would say, dropping my bags and kicking off my shoes. He'd grunt, eyes glued to his phone. You do it better. I'm tired too, you know. It infuriated me to see him so idle, especially when Frank, hungry and expectant, would tug at my sleeve. And Kevin, did you pick him up from school today? One evening, already aware of the answer, I asked Kevin if he had forgotten to tell me something. His reply was a low mumble, barely audible over the television. Thankfully, my mother, who lived close by, had stepped in as a reliable backup since Kevin had begun neglecting even his most basic duties. Kevin, he's your son too. He needs you, I stated, striving to keep my voice calm, though it was challenging. Typically, this would be the moment he'd leave, the door slamming as he went, marking another routine day. True to form, he vanished, leaving me to manage everything alone. The pattern escalated when I noticed money missing from my wallet. Initially, it was just a few dollars, but soon entire bills were gone. One night, after confirming the missing money, I confronted him. Kevin, have you been taking money from my purse? His eyes darted away before meeting mine again. Needed some cash for beer, he admitted. Beer? You're taking cash like a thief now, I exclaimed. How dare you call me a thief? I'm your husband, he retorted, his voice rising. Before we could argue further, Anna burst in. It seemed she had overheard us, her expression stormy. Quinn, all you care about is money. Can't you see the man is struggling? You should be supporting him, not accusing him. Support him by letting him steal from me? What about Frank? What about our bills? I responded, my voice growing louder as the stress from the past months reached a boiling point. Kevin collapsed back on the couch, tuning out as Anna and I argued over him, his eyes fixed on a distant point. The argument ended in a heavy silence, with Anna storming out and Kevin remaining silent and inactive. When Frank fell ill as the summer ended, his fever spiking one night, no soothing or cool cloths seemed to help. Sitting beside his bed, thermometer in hand, I felt my heart sink with each beep confirming the fever wasn't breaking. Kevin, as usual, was no help, engrossed in his phone on the couch. Kevin, can you check if we have any more fever reducer? I asked, trying to stay composed. He grunted and slowly got up, but I knew it would be quicker to do it myself. Frank was softly whimpering, clutching my hand, each moment precious. After a quick kiss on his forehead, I rushed to the kitchen myself. The next morning, the doctor stressed the need for medication and tests. Better to be safe, he advised, noting down his recommendations. Tests meant more expenses, far beyond what was left after the bills and Kevin's unchecked spending. Heart pounding, I transferred the last of our savings for Frank's treatment, including the $900 usually reserved for Anna. It was the only way. No sooner had I made the decision, Anna stormed in, furious. "Quinn, where's my money?" "It's the first of the month," she demanded. I was repacking Frank's small backpack, ready for another doctor's visit. "Anna," I began, bracing myself for another confrontation. I had to allocate the funds for Frank. He's gravely ill and needs them for his medical examinations and treatments. Anna's gaze hardened, her lips pressing into a thin line of disapproval. "Do you really expect me to believe you don't have other money?" "That was my money, Quinn. I need it," she declared. I took a step back, raising my hands defensively as my maternal instinct surged. "Frank is my priority. He's just a child, he's unwell, and he needs his mother to look after him. I won't apologize for putting him first." "Well, I should have guessed you'd do something like this, holding money back for me for that boy." Anna spat the words with venom, as if they were a poison that pained her. "That boy, Anna? That's your grandson. How can you be so heartless?" I shot back, my patience wearing thin. "I don't need a lecture from you, Quinn. Just make sure you pay me by tomorrow, or you'll regret it," she hissed, anger twisting her features. Her threat lingered ominously in the air, but the sight of Frank, weak and delicate in the next room, fortified my resolve. "Leave my house now, Anna. I won't tolerate threats under my own roof. Not today, not ever." Anna seemed poised to argue further, but the firm resolve in my gaze silenced her. She stormed out, slamming the door, leaving a heavy silence in her wake. Kevin left quietly after her. I went back to Frank, my hands trembling as I gently stroked his hair. He looked up at me with trusting, pain-filled eyes. "It's okay, baby. Mommy's here," I whispered, kissing his forehead, my resolve hardening. The days became a blur of hospital visits and sleepless nights. Kevin's absence was a quiet relief, no more arguments or scornful glances. But after a week of strained calm, I sensed something was wrong one Monday afternoon. Checking my bank app, my heart sank as I saw large withdrawals had nearly drained our savings. Panic clenched my chest as I scrolled through the transaction history, each withdrawal a betrayal. Calling Kevin was futile. He hadn't answered in days. Resolutely, I blocked the card to halt his theft. Amidst the turmoil, I realized the depth of Kevin's selfishness. A week after he disappeared, Kevin returned, not alone but with Anna at his side. They found me amidst a chaos of Frank's toys and medical bills scattered on the living room floor. "Quinn, we have news," Kevin declared, a strange smirk on his face. "I won the lottery, $27 million. And no, you won't see a cent of it. I'm filing for divorce." The room seemed to spin. "What about Frank?" I managed to utter. Anna's laugh was chilling. "Oh, Quinn. Always the martyr. You've underestimated my son for too long. Now he's wealthy, and you're nothing. He'll find someone better, someone younger." Kevin nodded, picking up a duffel bag by the door. "Yeah, I'm moving out to live with Mom. You'll manage on your own, won't you?" Anna was exceptionally skilled at manipulation, wrapping her arm around Kevin and leading him to the exit. "Let's leave the gold digger to wallow in her chaos. We have far better places to be," she suggested smugly as the door slammed shut behind them. The reality of the moment struck me hard. Betrayal, abandonment, theft. Kevin had deserted me, leaving behind only heartache and immense challenges. Yet, as the initial shock began to subside, a fiery determination started to grow within me. They thought they could destroy me, render me broken and penniless. I was resolved not to let that happen. With a steady voice, I called my lawyer. Kevin used our shared funds to purchase that lottery ticket. "I want to contest the winnings," I declared. My lawyer, though cautious, was supportive. "It's going to be a tough battle, Quinn, but we'll put our all into this," he assured me. Hanging up the phone, I felt the weight of the upcoming struggle settle on my shoulders. Yet, there was a newfound strength in me. tempered by this betrayal. For myself, for our son Frank, I was ready to fight, not just for survival this time, but for justice. As the court hearing neared, my lawyer, Mr. Adam, and I were engulfed in a whirlwind of preparation. We meticulously compiled every shred of evidence, bank statements, financial records, anything that demonstrated how I had financially supported our home while Kevin contributed nothing. Quinn, it's a solid case. The fact that he used your bank card to buy the lottery ticket is our strongest point, Mr. Adam reassured me as we sat amid stacks of paperwork in his office. With the court date looming, tension simmered just beneath the surface of my everyday routine. Then, just 4 days before the hearing, Kevin and Anna made an unexpected appearance. I was in the kitchen, Frank playing at my feet, when I heard the car door slam. They burst through the front door, their faces red with fury. "You're really going through with this? Suing your own husband?" Kevin bellowed, his voice echoing through the small room. Anna quickly joined in, her tone sharp and spiteful. "Greedy. That's what you are, trying to claim what isn't yours." I stood firm, feeling Frank press against my leg for comfort. "It's not just Kevin's money. He bought the ticket with our joint funds that I provided because he wasn't contributing," I countered calmly, the anger from their accusations fueling my resolve. Kevin's face contorted with disdain. "It's not about control, Kevin. It's about fairness. You left, remember? You and your mother mocked me, said I'd be left with nothing." Their shouts could have escalated further, but I was determined not to let that happen in front of Frank.
You need to leave now.
"We'll settle this in court," I said firmly. Their departure was loud and chaotic, but once they were gone, the house felt somehow clearer, purer. I hugged Frank close, whispering reassurances that everything would be all right. In the courtroom, the atmosphere was tense. Kevin sat across from us, his lawyer whispering in his ear, while Anna glared at me with hostility. When Mr. Adam presented the bank statements and financial records, the evidence was undeniable. Each time Kevin's attorney stumbled over a question, I felt the wave of triumph. The judge paid close attention, his gaze fixed on Kevin as evidence of Kevin's financial reliance on me unfolded. Key to the case was the lottery ticket bought with money from our joint account, making it a marital asset, as Mr. Adam persuasively argued. Kevin raised his voice in the hushed courtroom. I was the one who bought the ticket. It was my decision, my luck. But the judge quickly retorted, "Not your money, Mr. Thompson, and unfortunately for you, luck does not supersede the law." After prolonged deliberations, the judge handed down his decision. It was clear from the presented evidence that Mr. Thompson was financially dependent on Mrs. Thompson during the purchase of the ticket, thereby deeming the ticket a marital asset. The judgment awarded 4/4 of the lottery winnings to Mrs. Thompson and 1/4 to Mr. Thompson. Both Kevin and Anna were visibly shocked, their faces a canvas of disbelief. Months later, after the dust settled and the divorce was finalized, I began to embrace a brighter future shaped by the court's decision. Aware of the tales of lottery winners who squandered their fortunes, I reached out to Ethan, an old college friend who had found success in finance, for guidance. Over coffee, we discussed strategic investments in technology and renewable energy, as well as setting aside funds for my son Frank's education. Ethan's advice proved invaluable. Meanwhile, Kevin and Anna's approach to their share of the winnings became town gossip. Kevin flaunted a new sports car, while Anna indulged in lavish jewelry and attire, reveling in her newfound lifestyle. One afternoon, while picking up Frank from school, a friend eagerly relayed the latest about Kevin's extravagant purchases and Anna's luxurious living. I merely smiled and shifted my focus back to Frank and our future. At home, I meticulously planned our finances with Ethan's assistance. Each investment decision reinforced a pathway toward stability and security, ensuring Frank would have every possible advantage. One evening, Frank's curiosity about college mirrored my aspirations for him, his eyes alight with dreams and potential. As our lives settled into a comforting routine, with Frank flourishing in school and our investments thriving, the past seemed firmly behind us. Yet, life has a way of revisiting us, as I soon learned through an unsettling update from a close friend. During a relaxed coffee meetup, I chatted with Quinn about some startling news. Kevin had fallen on hard times. He'd lost his car, his money, and was caught up in gambling debts so deep that they even injured his neck. Over my coffee, I concealed my shock. "Really? That's unfortunate," I commented. And then there was Anna. She had started to sell her jewelry, desperate as both she and Kevin faced their darkest days after years of flaunting their wealth. Quinn, shaking her head in disbelief, recounted these developments. Before long, Kevin appeared at my doorstep, a mere shadow of the man he once was. His luxurious attire was gone, replaced by faded jeans and a worn jacket. His eyes, which once sparkled with pride, now reflected desperation. "Quinn, can we talk?" His voice was hoarse, as if he had rehearsed his plea countless times. I hesitated but stepped aside, allowing him into the house. Frank was out with friends, so we had the house to ourselves. I wasn't eager for a lengthy visit, though. As he entered, Kevin took a lingering look around the living room. "I've lost everything, Quinn. The money, the car. I've got nothing left. And I miss my family. I miss you," he confessed. Raising an eyebrow, I replied skeptically, "You miss the money. That's what you miss." "No, it's more than that. I've been reflecting a lot lately. I was hoping, maybe, we could start anew." His eyes pleaded for a second chance, but all I could recall were the years of deceit and neglect. I scoffed, more in disbelief than humor. "Start over? After everything you've put us through? You leave, accuse me of being materialistic, squander your wealth, and now you want to return as if nothing happened?" He avoided my gaze, his discomfort evident. "I know I've made grave mistakes, Quinn. I truly realize that now, and I'm ready to change," he insisted. "Kevin, you left when you thought you were better off without us. That revealed your true character. Now, you're just regretful because you're penniless and alone," I said, my voice resolute. Deflated, he absorbed the weight of my words. "So, there's no chance for us?" he asked softly. "Kevin, I forgave you long ago, for my own peace, not so you could waltz back into our lives when you hit rock bottom. Frank and I are thriving, and I intend to keep it that way," I affirmed. With a heavy heart, he left, shoulders slumped. Watching him walk away, I felt a chapter in my life close definitively. Later, as I picked up Frank, his laughter filled the car, affirming the true richness in our lives. No lottery win could ever match the genuine, invaluable love and joy we shared. Our path hadn't been smooth, but it was uniquely ours, brimming with irreplaceable, authentic affection.